It's a beautiful day outside. Birds are singing. Flowers are blooming. On days like this, kids should be riding their bikes or playing baseball or anything really. But, of course, none of those things will be done today for a certain pair because... "Oh my God, will you quit crying already?" a tiny blonde huffed irritably. His friend has been crouched with his arms around his knees under the shade of a tall tree for the past 20 minutes now. It was a wonder how the blonde didn't lose the small amount of patience he has earlier. But, Kaka-chan, how W? Can I be a hero without? A particularly loud sniffle broke off the end of the sentence. Deku had just come home from a doctor's visit and has been moping since. Kitten wanted to beat the doctor senseless, cause the guy was obviously a villain to make his Deku so upset. Kitten eventually sighed and took a seat next to the crying boy. He put one arm around the other's shoulder in an attempt to provide comfort. That doctor doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. How can an extra toe or whatever determine whether you have a quirk or not? I don't have an extra toe dash. You'll get your quirk in no time. How could we be partners otherwise? Oh, wouldn't it be so cool if your quirk was ice? Imagine that King Mighty Explodo Murder Master and Deku. The polar opposite wonder duo strikes again. And then my side of the poster will be scorched with flames, and yours is frosty like Dash. The green-haired boy tuned out the excited blonde's chatter in favor of watching his animated face instead. His feelings of sorrow were replaced with a burst of admiration for the other boy, and he suddenly felt a lot older than the tender age of 5. When the blonde faced Deku again, he no longer had chubby cheeks or a wide, confident smile. Instead, he had sharp features and wore a cocky smirk. Izuku. The deep voice saying his name in a way he's never heard before the name. He never heard in that voice before made Midoriya's heart hammer wildly in his chest. "Wake up. Izuku, honey. Wake up." The aforementioned shot his eyes open to a plain white ceiling. The teen blinked twice in confusion. It was just a dream. Izuku thought wistfully. After another moment, he sat up slowly and began to rub his groggy eyes in efforts of gaining more consciousness. There was a grating buzzing in his ears that sounded an awful lot like, "Wake up, my boy." Why? Because the day ISH you click. The fanboy somewhat regrets pestering his mentor into making him a personalized alarm. It seemed like a good idea at the time, and after hearing All Might's ringtone, young Midoriya was determined to have a similar keepsake. However, in retrospect, starting the day off with All Might yelling at a volume louder than that of present might not have been so smart. "Izuku, are you up?" Inko shouted from down the hall. Noises of drawers opening and zippers closing could also be heard amongst the woman's hurried, padded footsteps. Spring cleaning? No, that can't be. It's winter. Izuku looked toward the window as if to double-check he had his seasons correct, and sure enough the glass was frosted with nothing but white to be seen outdoors. "Yeah, I'm up now." "What are you doing, Mom?" Izuku shouted loud enough for his mother to hear. The green-haired woman came into the room and tossed a bag at her son. She began rummaging through the confused teenager's drawers as well now as she hurriedly explained. "I just got a call from your aunt this morning, the one that lives in America." Inko said as she pulled out various articles of clothing. "She got in a car crash." "Oh my God, is she Dash?" "She's fine. She's alive, thankfully, but her hips are dislocated. She'll need to stay at the hospital for a while. And since she has 2 little kids at home," Inko tossed a heap of clothes on Izuku's bed, "I need to watch over them for a while." Inko smiled apologetically at her son. Izuku nodded understandingly. "Am I going too?" Izuku asked as he packed the clothes into a bag in his lap. Izuku wondered how his mother got enough money for the both of them to go. Inko's smile turned a bit sadder. "Unfortunately, since it was on such short notice, I could only get 1 plane ticket. And I can't quite afford another. It's okay, Mom." Izuku figured as much. But then why is he packing too? As if reading his mind, Inko informed him, "Don't worry. You won't be alone this winter break. Mitsuki graciously offered to let you stay at her home. Isn't that great?" Izuku froze. Inko didn't notice and continued talking. "I was so worried leaving you with all these new villains coming from nowhere. But now you'll have Katsuki protecting you. And Mitsuki, too. Honestly, her rage is enough to ward off most villains." Inko laughed. still oblivious to Izuku's pale complexion, spending winter break in Kaken's house. The thought both terrified and delighted him, although the fear outweighed the joy since Kaken would most likely not be happy with this situation. "Mom, I don't think that's really necessary." Midoriya started hesitantly. "I'm more than capable of taking care of myself now. I improved my quirk a lot and dash." Inko turned to her son. "Izuku, please, just stay with him," she pleaded. Tears threatened to fall from her vermilion eyes. Young Midoriya sighed and continued packing his bag, a smiling poster of All Might approves his decision with 2 thumbs up. "Ah, bro, you're leaving already? I said I'd tutor you, not play shitty video games with you. Come on, it's break. One match won't hurt." The redhead leaned over his bed and wiggled the controller alluringly in front of the boys sitting on the floor. Katsuki smacked the offending object away. "I'd rather be doing something useful with my time. You should be honored I even came over shit for brains." "Is shit your favorite word?" Katsuki wordlessly stuck one finger in the air as he stuffed textbooks back in his bag. Kirishima took no notice of this and simply flipped around on his bed so that he was lying on his back. "Or maybe it's Deku. You sure love screaming his name after all." Kirishima put both hands behind his head as he pretended to be deep in thought. That earned him a punch to the face. The blonde huffed angrily as he walked home in the bitter cold. That fucking idiot just had to remind him that Deku exists. Katsuki hasn't seen Deku since the break started, so that's been, a week now? And it looks like he won't be seeing the mess of curls, tears, and freckles anytime soon. Probably not until school starts back up again. A whole month away, which is a good thing. Whenever he thought of the other's face, he just couldn't concentrate on anything, whether it be studying, enhancing his quirk, or cooking something always manages to get burnt because fucking Deku just pops into his head randomly, like he has any right to be there. However, this past week, Katsuki had successfully not been thinking about Deku and has been 1,000 times more productive for it. Up until now. In fact, the blonde just realized he walked past his house. Fuck. The blonde turned around and trudged grumpily back in the direction he came from. The wind blew against him, making his hood fly backwards and freezing his ears instantly. He took one hand out of his pocket to bring the hood forward again, but unfortunately forgot his gloves at Kirishima's. Grr, fucking hair for brains. Fuck him. Katsuki was still fuming by the time he reached the door. And fuck that freckled face. Doe-eyed little. Katsuki slammed open the door and was greeted with the sight of his mother, sitting across from Deku, a cup of tea held in each of their hands. "Oh, hey, welcome home, brat." It almost seemed like ZA Warudo had occurred with the amount of seconds that passed without another word being said. Izuku fidgeted before finally raising a shaky hand up in the form of a greeting. "Hey, Kaken," said boy promptly exploded. "The fuck do you mean he's staying with US? Jesus. How many times do I have to explain it to you to get it through your thick skull? Where the fuck is he gonna sleep? We don't have a goddamn spare room." Katsuki gestured a hand wildly in Izuku's direction, as if he was a stray dog they found on the street. Or maybe more like a puppy, since Izuku cast his eyes downwards immediately and picked a loose thread on the hem of his shirt. Much like a child being scolded, if you look close enough you can see a small pout on his face. "Well, in your bed, or course." Mitsuki threw an arm around the back of the couch languidly. Katsuki stiffened while Izuku turned bright red. Mitsuki smirked. "Don't get too excited now. Katsuki, you're sleeping on the floor, obviously." Katsuki closed his eyes and took in a deep breath. He then counted to 10 before speaking again. "Hag, tell me, in what world does it make sense that Deku gets my bed?" Actually... The cinnamon roll interrupted before another Bakugous argument could begin. "I bought my own futon. I really don't mind the floor, Mrs. Bakugous. Honestly." Mitsuki looked considerably at Izuku for a while. A few minutes passed, although it felt like hours to Izuku. Her gaze is just as intense as Kaken's. Mitsuki suddenly clapped her hands on her knees, which made Izuku jump a little, but it seems that she's made up her mind. "All right. I guess it can't be helped since it seems like you have old Inko's stubbornness, and my demon of a child would probably throw you off the bed anyway. I'm the stubborn one here? Yeah, I know. I'm a real son of a bitch, aren't I, Ma?" Izuku quietly sipped his tea, while another battle ensued in the background. All was silent in Bakugous' room. No explosions or outbursts, just silence. Izuku sat in the corner of the room, on top of his small futon, reading. Or at least, trying to. He could feel Katsuki's murderous stare from behind the cover of his Heroes Weekly Magazine issue number 364. It was quite distracting. After Izuku finished not reading, he set down the comic and decided to address the angry elephant in the room. "Kakin," Midoriya began, "I know you're not thrilled, but please, just try to ignore me. I promise you won't even notice I'm here. I'll stay in this corner the entire time, and I won't make a single sound, so." The green-haired boy took a steadying breath before gathering enough courage to make eye contact, and he was surprised to find that the blonde didn't look nearly as mad as he thought the teen would be. He looked almost peaceful, in an angry way. But why? Katsuki just clicked his tongue and murmured gruffly under his breath, "How can I not notice you?" For some reason, that made his heart thump. Izuku broke off eye contact in favor of staring at the wall. He felt mortified at the gathering heat in his cheeks. Stop it. He didn't mean it like that. Get a hold of yourself." Katsuki stood abruptly and headed toward the door. "I'm going to grab a protein shake. You want one?" Izuku gawked at him. "I'm trying to be civil, asshole. Now answer before you catch flies in your mouth." "Huh? Okay, yeah. Thanks." Katsuki walked down the stairs feeling oddly calm. "Probably 'cause Deku's here." Kirishima's voice taunted him. "Shut the fuck up." Bakugous' serene mood slightly dissolved. Why am I even hearing that dumbass in my head? I need to stop tutoring him so much. Katsuki reached the fridge and opened the handle. Honestly, though, Deku's staying here. Might not be so bad. The blonde grabbed 2 drinks, closed the fridge, and headed back upstairs. While the two weren't exactly friends, they've slowly been drifting closer together after resolving some misunderstandings at their second major fight. It was a gradual, minute shift in their dynamic that one could hardly spot the difference. The change was very clear to one Katsuki Bakugou after a week apart, though. Should I go back for some dango? He contemplated halfway there. Screw it. I fucking earned it. Katsuki only has sweets once a month as part of his strict diet regime. As Katsuki headed the refrigerator once more, his thoughts drifted to Deku again. Deku, I can't really say I dislike him. Yet at the same time, I don't know him well enough anymore to be able to call him a friend. I lost that right a long time ago. Katsuki thought bitterly. The refrigerator opened. Maybe I can regain that right again. The last of the dango was nowhere to be found. Mitsuki Bakugou was enjoying a rather lovely erotica novel this evening. She bit her lip with anticipation as she was about to turn the page. "Oh, Mr. Gray, what will you do next?" When suddenly she heard her banshee of a son screaming, "You got some nerve!" followed by explosions. "Eep! Kachin, I didn't know, okay. I'm sorry, I'll buy you more tomoichich." The floor rumbled slightly under the pressure of another explosion. Now the sound of gushing water accompanied the noises downstairs. "Oh my God, Kakin, you hit a pipe." "No, shit, Sherlock." Mitsuki's veins popped. "You hit what?" Both boys looked at each other when they heard Mitsuki's scream. Looking around the living room, the place was covered in soot with a broken lamp, a torn-up couch, skid marks on the floor and walls due to Izuku's quirk and hands running, and of course a hole in the wall that had water currently soaking everything. Mitsuki was going to kill them. A moment later, thunderous stomping could be heard, coming their way. "Shit!" In a split second, Katsuki grabbed the other boy and threw him in the closet. He then opened the front door before getting in the closet as well and shutting it. "Why do you dash?" Izuku couldn't finish his sentence as Katsuki covered his mouth with one hand. He put his head against the door and listened intently. Mitsuki seems to have come downstairs and was silent. She was probably shocked at how much damage they caused. The boys then heard a ferocious growl and loud footsteps stomping away. The front door slammed shut. The blonde let out a sigh and let go of Midoriya as the green-haired boy realized what happened. "Oh, she thinks we left the house 'cause the front door was open," Izuku said, in all the others' quick thinking. Katsuki smirked. "Yup, you think she'll believe it wasn't us and the house just got robbed or whatever?" "Highly doubt it. Can't blame me for trying. Katsuki shrugged. Izuku smiled. This whole situation could be blamed on Kakin, even if Izuku was the one who ate his snack. Izuku then started to giggle because it just felt so nostalgic, hiding in the closet to escape Mitsuki's wrath. Katsuki felt it too, but he bit his bottom lip to keep himself from smiling. TCH, stop laughing like a moron. Let's get out of here. Sure, Kakin, Izuku said, still giggling slightly. The giggling boy put one hand on the knob and tried turning it. It wouldn't budge. Kakin, did you make sure the door was unlocked when you pushed us in here? Fuck. The first well-known person in the United States to have a quirk would have to be, was it Michael Jordan? What was his quirk again? Super speed. High jumps? Izuku laid on his futon, pondering over history homework as he awaited for Kakin to return from his punishment. Izuku had gotten in trouble too, but his sentence wasn't as severe, considering he wasn't the one who almost tore the house apart. Sorry, hun, but no dessert for you tonight. Mitsuki had said, hands on her hips, smiling apologetically. Meanwhile, in the background, Katsuki was drenched from head to toe as he was forced to repair the god-forsaken pipe. It didn't seem like he was having much luck. A pout formed on Izuku's face from the memory. The Daifuku looked so good at the dinner table too, just a few inches from his reach yet, so beyond his grasp. Midoriya stretched his body and changed positions so that he was now sitting upright. Okay, question 11. In what year was the first quirk discovered? Right then the fiery blonde, who ate 2 Daifukus that night, arrived through the door. His hair was slightly damp, but his clothes were dry. It appears as though he's just taken a shower. That took a while. Midoriya brilliantly observed. Yeah, well, I'm a hero, not a goddamn construction worker. Katsuki said as he flopped his ass down on the bed, making the mattress bounce slightly under the weight. Are you doing your homework right now? Katsuki scoffed, laying his arms above his pillow, before resting his head atop. Yup. Izuku replied, popping the P at the end. Nerd. Didn't you finish yours the first day of break, Kakin? Katsuki didn't dignify that with a response, 'cause he refused to be a liar nor a hypocrite. He simply got up and sat next to the green-haired boy. The blonde leaned over Izuku's shoulders and squinted to read the paper in the other's lap. Izuku's heart rate began to pick up. So close, Izuku thought, do his best not to squirm when the other's arm brushed against his own. Katsuki's eyes darted from left to right, skimming over the answers. Number 3 is wrong. The first quirk was found in Qingqing, not Hong Kong, he corrected, taking the pencil from Izuku and starting to erase the circle around Hong Kong. Izuku nodded, vaguely paying attention. When was the last time Kakin was this close to me? Non-violently? He wondered. 5 is also wrong. Katsuki said, rubbing an eraser back and forth against the sheet. Oh! Was all Izuku could reply at the moment, too focused on trying not to be distracted by the surprisingly nice scent wafting from the teen next to him. Smells like burning cedar, the punctilious boy noted. So is 8, 9, and 10. Jesus. Deku, I thought you were smart. Katsuki teased lightly as he turned to face Izuku. Midoriya is suddenly all too conscious of the comment directed at him and the face in front of his, which made him abruptly whip his head around to face the wall for the second time that day. However, while he couldn't see Katsuki anymore, he could tell the other was staring at him as if he's grown 3 heads. Smooth, very discreet. This is how a normal person acts. Midoriya thought sarcastically, berating himself for creating this awkward situation with his jerky movements. Hey! Izuku felt Kakin shift in his seat. You feeling okay? The teen asked, trying to get a better look at Izuku's reddened face. The flustered boy hit further. Why, yeah, I am fine. Just feeling a bit tired, I guess. Izuku stammered out. Bakugous studied the nervous boy curiously for a minute and eventually came to the conclusion that Deku's just being a Deku and moved away, much to Izuku's relief. The blonde shrugged. I dunno why you're so tired, but I'm fucking exhausted, so I won't question it. Katsuki said, the for now part unspoken but clear. He got up, shut off the lights, and settled into his own bed. Sleep? Bakugous commanded, voice low and muffled. He was actually tired, unlike the liar sitting atop of the messy futon. Izuku blinked, eyes slowly getting adjusted to the dark. After his vision was well enough, he began cleaning up the spread of papers and textbooks. He moved them to the side, next to the backpack that contained all his stuff. Bakugous had refused to share any of his drawers. Now that the area was clean, Izuku assaulted the pillow with his face and clenched the soft material tightly in his palms. He was tempted to scream into the fabric, but refrained from doing so, cause Kakin would definitely murder him for that. I really need to get over him. Izuku internally groaned. Ever since they were kids, Izuku had this stupid crush on none other than the infamous Katsuki Bakugous. Why? Because he's Kakin. He's smart, strong, brave, confident, talented. Izuku could go on forever. Even when the arrogant boy bullied him, Izuku couldn't stop liking him. It was like the emotion was ingrained in him. No matter how many times he was ignored, made fun of, or beaten up, he couldn't get rid of the butterflies he felt whenever he saw Kakin win with the odds stacked against him, or when he inadvertently motivated his peers with a cocky speech, or when he let a small smile grace his lips when he thought no one was looking. Yeah, Izuku was smitten, is smitten, possibly in love. Maybe? No, let's not go that far. Point is, even though the fire wielder had a horrible personality in their middle school years, Izuku still liked him. A lot. He only felt sad that he couldn't stand by Kakin's side back then. But he could now. Their relationship is slowly but surely getting stronger with each passing day, and with it grew Midoriya's infatuation. And it needs to stop. Katsuki might be more tolerant of Izuku now, but that doesn't mean he'd ever return his feelings. Maybe in his dreams. But this was reality, and the fact was that if Kakin found out, their friendship would be over before it even began. Izuku looked up longingly towards his crush. From this angle, he could only see the shape of the bedpost and a bit of Katsuki's toe. Peeping over the edge, the moonlight from the window illuminated the room and cast a shadow on certain objects sticking out in the dark. In the quiet, Izuku could hear soft whirring sounds from a heater, and the sleeping boy's gentle breathing occupied the silence of the night. The atmosphere was nice, comfy. Izuku's eyes drooped slightly, and then completely as he let out a yawn. It's okay, he thought hazily. At least I can stand by his side again. And with that last thought in mind, Izuku was lulled into a deep sleep. The next day, young Midoriya was awakened by the bright morning sun. Izuku shielded his eyes with an arm and slung the covers over his head, but to no avail. He could still see orange through his closed eyelids. Deciding it was futile, the boy got up. He was about to whine to the other male in the vicinity. Why doesn't your room have blinders? But was not able to do so as he found Katsuki's bed was empty. Typical, it was almost 10 in the morning. Kakin's never been one to sleep in. Izuku was obviously not a morning person as he dragged his feet across the hall to the bathroom. He grabbed a toothbrush and began brushing his teeth as he ambled his way to the first floor. After Midoriya finished gargling in the duplicate bathroom downstairs, he came out and was immediately hit with a delicious aroma. It was coming from the kitchen, and so there he went, fully expecting his blonde roommate to be in there. Izuku was somewhat knocked off balance when he met a face he hasn't seen in a while. Oh, Izuku, good morning. How are you doing? It's so nice to see you after all this time. Katsuki's dad, Masaru, beamed. Good morning, Mr. Bakugous, sir. I'm doing fine. Izuku bowed awkwardly, unsure of how he should act with someone he hasn't seen since his diaper days. Masaru laughed as he flipped what looked like blueberry pancakes onto their uncooked sides. No need to be so formal. You can call me Masaru or Dad if you'd like. Masaru smiled genuinely. Izuku's heart swelled at the sentiment because Masaru was the closest thing he had to a father in his childhood. While he didn't quite feel comfortable calling the man Dad, the offer was still kind and highly appreciated. Thank you. Izuku began, feeling a bit more at ease. Do you happen to know where Kakin is? I haven't seen him, so I thought he would be here. He went to get us eggs for breakfast. We ran out completely. Actually, I'm sorry to ask you this, but Masaru set the golden pancakes down on a plate. If it's not a bother, would you mind going to the grocery store as well to fetch some milk? I forgot to tell Katsuki, and he hasn't picked up any of my phone calls. He must have left it at home. Masaru explained. Oh, but you're more than welcome to eat first. My goodness, I'm so rude. Come, have a seat. Masaru pulled a chair out. Aha, it's all right. Izuku assured the man. I can get the milk now. It's no problem. Midoriya said, partly because he didn't know what he could possibly talk about alone with Kakin's dad during breakfast. Ah, thank you, Izuku. Masaru smiled again. He's still such a sweet kid. The man thought, be safe out there. Izuku nodded. I'll be back in 10 minutes, the green hair-boy promised as he stepped out the Bakugou residence. Brrrr. Izuku's teeth chattered. The weather's sunny disguise had succeeded in tricking Midoriya, not for the first time in his life either. It was freezing, and so bright. The worst possible combination, especially in knee-high deep snow. Just a few more streets, and I could be indoors. Izuku reminded himself. However, that wouldn't be the case anymore, as a frightened scream rang out amidst the crowd. Midoriya tensed and swiftly turned, listening to where the sound came from. More far-away screams could be heard as Izuku caught a glimpse of a flying mass of goop in the distance. Adrenaline and dread filled Izuku's veins. He ran as fast as his legs could take him to the scene. Ah! Save me. Please, someone, anyone. Help! A woman hysterically cried, one leg covered by a thick, slimy substance. She desperately fought against the goop, pulling her forward to the point where it seemed like her leg would break. Delaware smash. A fist slammed into the mook, scattering it into pieces. Izuku took the lady in his arms and moved her to a safe place. Are you okay? He asked, briefly assessing her injuries. It seemed like she had a sprained ankle, but was otherwise fine. Yes, thanks to you. She nodded vigorously, voice choked from the traumatic experience. Izuku looked back towards the slime ball and examined it. It looked very similar to the slime monster that attacked Kakin almost a year and a half ago. The only difference was this one was pink in color instead of green, and it was seemingly attacking no one in particular, but anyone who got nearby. With that in mind, Izuku charged at the mass, ready to burst the thing with a roundhouse kick. Before Izuku's foot could make contact, the slime rearranged itself to make a hole in its center, where Midoriya flew through. He skidded to a stop against the gravel roughly. The slime ball took this opportunity to launch at Izuku. Shit! The slime covered both his legs and right arm. This pink monster is much faster and stronger than the green one was. Midoriya struggled in its hold. Boom! An explosion caused the entire being to combust, making medium-sized chunks of slime fly in every which direction. The police scrambled to collect the pink fragments and keep them contained. Midoriya coughed from the smoke invading his lungs. After the smog cleared, he could see paramedics have arrived in the area. A carton of eggs were smeared against the pavement, and Kakin stood in front of him with his back turned. Izuku smiled and got on his feet, in order to thank the blonde, but he was on the ground again before he knew it. His left cheek stung painfully. The fuck was that? Bakugous screamed at the boy on the ground, his face contorted in rage. Katsuki was absolutely livid. Midoriya held a hand up to his throbbing cheek and replied, What the hell are you talking about? Izuku got up once more and hardened his stance in case the pissed-off boy pushed him down again. You fucking charge the thing? No plan, no tact. You just fucking fly in like you're Batman or some shit and expect things to magically work out. Who the hell do you think you are? Katsuki spat out. The wailing of sirens drowned out some of Bakugou's words, but Izuku could hear him loud and clear. I think I'm a hero in training. Izuku said back, eyes locking determinately with blazing red. Firemen got out of the truck and hosed away bits of metal that were steaming from the aftermath. In the old days, Izuku would have just apologized to appease the angry boy. However, Katsuki had no right to yell at him now or hit him. More like a corpse in training. Stop doing dumb shit, Deku. Kakin, I'm not a quirkless kid rushing into fights anymore. That doesn't mean you're fucking Superman. You did the exact same thing as me. The slime just happened to be weak against fire. I can do it, 'cause I'm me. You're Deku. Don't fucking forget that. Izuku just stood there, mouth wide open in disbelief. After all this time, Kakin still didn't see them as equals. He turned around and walked away. Where do you think you're going?" The furious blonde shouted, walking after him. "Home." Izuku spat out. The blonde rolled his eyes at the attitude. Izuku walked at a fast and steady pace. He didn't look back, not even once. "By home, you meant your own home?" Katsuki asked, arms crossed in front of his chest, leaning against the doorframe, watching Deku pack his stuff. "Yeah, isn't this what you wanted?" Izuku said in a huff. He's glad he left most of his items in the backpack. The sooner he got out of this arrogant asshole's presence, the better. "I thought your mom wanted you to stay here, 'cause you couldn't take care of yourself," Katsuki taunted. Izuku lost his temper at that moment. He marched up to Bakugous until they were nose to nose, eye to eye. "I passed the hero exam. I have a license. I'm certified to save lives. I can certainly take care of myself." Midoriya shot back, uncharacteristically full of venom. He then pushed past the stun boy and stomped down the stairs. Well, good fucking riddance. Izuku heard the blonde shout as he reached the door. "This is fucking great for me. I don't have to play as your fucking babysitter anymore. Hope you don't die all by your stash." Izuku didn't hear the rest as he slammed the door behind him. The temperature has dropped drastically from mere moments ago. The air was chilly and uninviting to those who decided to meander outdoors, which wasn't as many now as civilians rushed about in the streets, searching for shelter. Izuku stood with his hands in his pockets on the porch outside of his house. He sighed as he reached under the mat to get the spare key. The fact that his mother thought this was a good hiding place was mind-blowing, and also extremely dangerous as anyone can walk right in. Izuku had been wanting to discuss this matter with Inko for a while, but kept on forgetting. He'll definitely remember to talk to her when she gets home. For now, though, he'll gladly use his poorly hidden key. The green-haired boy walked indoors and took off his snow-covered boots. He tossed his belongings on the couch and headed upstairs. Once he was alone in his room with his all-might memorabilia, Izuku collapsed. His body trembled as an ugly sob threatened to escape from him. Izuku wrapped his arms around his frame in order to contain the bubbling emotions within him. "God damn it, Kakin," he thought as he tightened his hold. "Right when I thought we were becoming friends. Just yesterday it seemed like that was the case. Welp, since we're stuck in this closet, we might as well do something." "Like what?" Izuku recalled Kakin smiling mischievously before attacking him. He really should have known what was coming. "Serves you right for eating my dango, you little shit." The blonde pinned the other on the floor. "Kachan, che. Stop. Mercy." The tactical attack had evolved into more of tickling torture than an actual fight. Izuku's lips twitched upwards for a second as his vision blurred. 3 is wrong. First quirk was found in Chingching, not Hong Kong. Kakin's arm brushed against his as he took the pencil and began erasing. A single tear brimmed over the edge and rolled down Izuku's cheek. His hand immediately came up to wipe it away. "Hey, you feeling okay?" A shudder racked his body as he remembered Kakin's tone then. It had sounded like he actually cared. Izuku couldn't have been more wrong. He doesn't care about me. He doesn't even like me for Christ's sake. The only reason he's been semi-nice to me was 'cause we were forced into being roommates. An involuntary whimper left Midoriya's lips. "Kakin hates me. Always has. Always will." Tears fell steadily from his chin as he buried his head in his knees. He was such an idiot. Masaru paced the hall outside of Katsuki's room, wondering how to approach his son. He's never been very good with these situations. It always ends with lots of yelling and breaking as Masaru goes unheard. "I need some caffeine, but the boys didn't bring any milk home. Drats. Masaru isn't fond of black coffee." "Dear, why were you pacing?" Masaru jumped. He didn't realize his wife was back. "Thank God you're home." Masaru hugged her. Katsuki and Izuku got into a fight dash. "Again?" No. With words. An argument, well, a few punches might have been thrown, I'm not sure, but Izuku went home, and Katsuki won't come out of his room, and dash. Mitsuki grabbed her husband's head and kissed him. "I've heard enough," she said after. "I'll handle it." Masaru nodded. Katsuki laid on the bed. Staring up at the ceiling, however, all he could see was Izuku. The freckled face has been plaguing his mind once again. His smiling face, his sleeping, drooling face, his mad face. Images of Deku being slammed against the pavement by the slime monster suddenly flashed through his head. Fucking dumbass. Thinks he's invincible just 'cause he got All Might's quirk. Can't even use it properly. The door opened, and Mitsuki walked in. While the door was locked. How did you dash? Katsuki sat up as a key was thrown in his face. What the hell? Quiet. What did you do to Izuku-kun? She sat on the teen's bed and crossed her legs. Katsuki rubbed his forehead, the spot where the small sharp object hit, and looked off to the side. Why do you always assume I did something? Deku threw a bitch fit and left. End of story. And what did you say to provoke him? Nothing. Mitsuki raised one eyebrow, or at least tried to pull off the sassy look. Her left eye strained to stay down, making her look more unhinged rather than all-knowing. What is she doing with her eyes, my God? Hag think she's in a TV show or some shit. Bakugous' mother suddenly grabbed him by the hair and pushed him down. Before Katsuki could rip her hand off, Mitsuki spoke. Katsuki, I promised Inko that Izuku will be safe in my home, and I intend to keep my promise. So, for once, put your unearned pride aside and apologize. With that said, the blonde female let go of the spiky hair and strutted away. Have him home by 8 or else. Mitsuki threatened before going completely out of sight. Katsuki would rather not deal with whatever punishment she could contrive. So he got up to put his coat and shoes on and retrieve the nerd. I guess they changed their hiding spot. Katsuki thought as he placed the corner of the doormat back down. He had to figure out another way in now. Bakugous grinned maniacally as an idea came to mind. He held an arm straight up at the door and felt blood course hotly through his veins as an explosion built its way up through his palms. Sweat and nitroglycerin gathered to its capacity until a small puff of smoke came out in the below-freezing weather. Katsuki took a few steps back and looked around the front of the house. When he couldn't find any openings, he jumped over the fence and walked around the side of the building. A moment later, he spotted a half-open window on the second floor. If he remembers correctly, that would be Deku's room. And conveniently enough, there was a tree nearby that had a branch that stretched out just the right amount to reach the open window. The branch seems a bit frail toward the ends, but otherwise, it looked sturdy enough to be walked on. Perfect for an intruder to intrude. Deku's such an idiot. Izuku had fallen asleep against the door, worn out by his crying session. When he was awakened by a loud thud, the alarmed boy immediately sprang to his feet, bumping his desk in the process. He grabbed the closest object he could find to defend himself. Who's there? Midoriya questioned guardedly, pencil in hand. Annie. A deep voice answered. Izuku was thrown off guard. He grew more confused and frightened as his muddled mind conjured up the idea that Toga somehow got his room and shifted into an invisible boy named Annie. Annie who? Izuku asked, fully on guard now. Anyway, you can give me a hand before I kill you? Hakakin. The pencil dropped and rolled away as Izuku spun his head every which way, fear completely evaporated by now. He finally located his childhood friend, struggling to hold himself up by the windowsill. Kakin! Izuku ran to the window and grabbed hold of the other's arms. The green-haired boy then put one foot on the wall below and kicked himself backwards, using the momentum to pull the heavier boy inside. Katsuki toppled over the smaller boy, head landing in the crook of Izuku's neck. They stayed like that for a while. Kakin, can you move or? The blonde just mumbled something about weak-ass trees and green being bad luck before pushing himself up on his elbows. Next time, keep your windows completely open. Makes it much easier for people to kidnap you. Katsuki said sarcastically. The comment sounded quite condescending to Izuku. Katsuki rolled over and got his feet. Let's go, he said, already making his way out. Izuku sat up and gaped at the teen, astonished. What makes you think I won't go anywhere with you? Anger rekindled from earlier. Katsuki turned back and gave Izuku a nasty look. I scaled a goddamn tree and almost broke my neck to get to you. You're gonna go wherever I fucking tell you to go. That's not how it works. I don't owe you anything. Izuku rolled his eyes. You're more than welcome to leave, though. You can use the front or the window. Your choice. Katsuki walked up to Izuku, reached down and lifted him up by his shirt, so that Izuku was standing now as well. What is your problem? You PMSING? That time of the month already. Katsuki spat out. Izuku hurled a punch at the blonde. That's exactly my problem. His fists clenched by his sides. You just won't stop insulting me. I've had enough. The explosive boy jumped the other and punched him in the gut as they crashed on the carpet. Get over it. You think I forgot about your little comment about hero licenses. Huh? People talk shit all the time, way of life. Move on. Izuku blocked another punch that was aimed at his face and flipped their positions. There's a difference between talking shit and treating people like shit. Izuku punched Bakugous by the jawline. Why do you still treat me like I'm a pebble on the sidewalk? I thought you finally respected me. Thought of me as an equal. You said we were rivals. Izuku shouted at the teen under him. Izuku pounded weakly on the other's chest, the lump in his throat preventing him from hitting harder. Yet this morning you acted as if I was an annoying damsel in distress. I'm a hero. I'm finally a hero. Izuku choked up. Why high do you still dash? Why do you still hate me? Katsuki closed his eyes as tear droplets fell on his face from the boy above. Sorry. The green-haired boy got off the blonde and sat crisscrossed, wiping away his tears. Katsuki followed suit and sat across the crying boy. His heart strangely ached as he watched each teardrop moisten Izuku's freckles. He almost reached out to wipe away the rest, but stopped himself in time. What the hell was that? Katsuki thought as he looked at his hands. A sad sniffle interrupted his thoughts, and was probably what caused him to say his next words. I was worried about you. The blonde admitted, voice unusually soft. Izuku's hands froze in the middle of wiping his face. He slowly lowered his limbs and looked at Katsuki with curious wide eyes. His pupils moved frantically, observing Katsuki for signs of false sincerity. This went on for a while. Katsuki grew red from the attention and began to regret his words. But there was no taking it back now. I said those things to you 'cause I didn't want you getting hurt. Katsuki felt oddly tongue-tied. I know you're strong, but I don't know. The blonde trailed off, feeling very embarrassed. Fuck, why am I saying all this? The blonde chanced a look at the freckled boy when the silence got to be too much. The green-haired boy wore a bright smile, cheeks flushed from crying but no longer smeared with tears. That's why. Kirishima answered in his head. Katsuki was too mesmerized at the moment to be bothered by the redhead's voice. Izuku laughed softly. Sorry, guess I overreacted. Yeah, no kidding. Katsuki held a hand to his cheek. He could feel a bruise forming. Sorry. Stop apologizing. I'm the one who should be saying sorry. Katsuki rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. My people skills aren't as amazing as my fighting skills, okay? Nobody's perfect. Izuku laughed loudly at this. Not as loud as Katsuki's heart. The next few days went by peacefully at the Bakugous household. The Wonder Duo passed time by watching hero documentaries, reading books, working out, normal teenage activities. One abnormal activity was the burning of trees around the house. The fires were caused by powerful solar rays, or so Katsuki had said. The green-haired boy was obviously unconvinced and just shook his head disapprovingly as the overprotective, paranoid teen defended himself. There's still plenty of trees left in the Amazon rainforest, hey. At least raccoons can't get in the house now. Raccoon clearly being a euphemism for criminals. There was also another incident where Izuku had accidentally dug a grave. He was sparring with Katsuki in the front yard and had jumped in the air in order to gain speed for his next move. Bakugous had predicted he would do that, and so the blonde rolled away before Midoriya's electrifying punch could land. And luckily so. 7 feet of dirt, snow, and slush exploded up in the air. Katsuki sat a few inches away from the demolition, eyes wide and quite frightened when he asked, was that supposed to be payback for the trees? I swear I was going to replant the seeds away from the house in spring. You don't have to cripple me, Dash. No. Kak and I'd never try to actually hurt you. I didn't think it was going to be that strong a hit, honestly. I thought I was at 2%. Izuku shouted, quite frightened as well, from inside the pit. Needless to say, that quickly concluded their training session. Mitsuki came home later that evening, after a long day at work. A huge crater brown in the middle of her otherwise pristine white lawn caught her eyes as she parked her Toyota in the driveway. Wonder who they're burying, she thought briefly as she headed indoors and went straight to bed. It truly was a peaceful era, until one unassuming evening. No, but Kachan, Whyyyy, I really have to explain this to you. Yes. Deku, it's feral dash. Look, there's his dash. Whatever. Not keeping it. Thing's gonna shit all over the place and give us rabies. Izuku petted the small kitten in his lap, eliciting content purrs from the creature. I don't think he's feral, Kakin. He looks pretty clean. Izuku grinned toothily as the kitten let out a happy mew. He probably got lost from home. There's no way he could have survived more than a few hours in this weather. Well, if he has an owner, we definitely can't keep him, Katsuki stated. Izuku sighed. Yeah, I know, but we can at least take care of him until we find his owner. The blonde kitten rolled over, exposing his stomach. Izuku's heart melted at this display of trust. Oh, look at him, Kachin. He's so adorable. Izuku squealed as he petted the soft kitty belly. Katsuki moved closer to the other boy on the bed and inspected the animal critically. Looks like a yellow rat. The kitten stilled. He suddenly jumped up at Bakugous' face and scratched him. An unusual amount of blood burst from the scratch, and Izuku and Katsuki both stared wide-eyed at the kitten. That landed on Izuku's shoulder. He arched his back in a defensive pose and hissed at the bleeding teen. A second later, he was nuzzling Izuku's cheek. After Bakugou recovered from the shock of the attack, he lunged after the creature. Kakin, no. Izuku pressed against Bakugou's chest as the blonde attempted to reach the creature on his shoulder. Katsuki's prey leaped down and hid behind the small of Izuku's back. The small kitten didn't seem to realize he would be squashed in such an area should his predator push the boy down. That fucking rat deserves what's coming to him. Bakugou reached around Izuku's hips. Midoriya grabbed his wrist. Kakin's still young. Kat-chan doesn't know right from wrong yet. That's a load of bullshit weight. Katsuki stopped and glared at Izuku. What did you call him? Did you seriously name that fucker after me? Katsuki growled out. Yes, I did. He reminds me of you. Not in a bad way. Izuku rushed out the last sentence before Bakugou could explode. Katsuki stared at Izuku for a moment. Then he sat back in his seat. How? He questioned, crossing his arms. Well, Izuku began he's blonde for one. The green-haired boy laughed nervously. Katsuki was not amused. Izuku quickly continued. He's also strong, as we just saw. And he's smart. He knew you were saying something bad about him. Midoriya paused for a moment, unsure of how to properly describe their other similarities. Is that it? He's not that strong or smart. He'd be dead without someone looking after him. Bakugous scoffed, annoyed at being compared to such a weak thing. Izuku looked pensively at the other for a moment and then spoke. He didn't like me at first either, Kakin. Midoriya held out his hand for Bakugou to see. It was covered in deep scratches, similar in color to the scars he got from using his quirk excessively. For some reason, this made Katsuki's blood boil. He didn't trust me, and rightfully so. He didn't know my motives, but he realized I was only trying to help when I put him in my coat pocket. Izuku chuckled at the memory of how the kitten had instantly stopped struggling. I guess he felt warm. Izuku said fondly. Katsuki's features softened at how familiar that sounded. Maybe he'll warm up to you two soon enough. You just need to be patient. Izuku smiled gently as the tiny kitten came out from its hiding spot. The kitten stared cautiously at the blonde as he slowly made his way to Izuku's lap. He kneaded Izuku's legs briefly before laying down with his tail curled around him. Kat-chan rubbed his head against Izuku's stomach. "Aw, you're so cute, Kat-chan." Izuku cooed. "Cute? I'd say hot is a better adjective for me." Katsuki said casually. "Huhwhno. I meant the cat, not dash." Izuku's face turned beet red. He really regretted his name choice right now. "I thought you were still listing similarities?" Katsuki pretended to be clueless. "So you think I'm smart, strong, and cute?" "Deku, I'm flattered." He smirked teasingly. That's no twaramen timin yesiri smartan stringandiranapid lukin but tident mentachir kidamin ticket waskin nataririn kiri rotwait and me and Dash. Chill, I was joking. Katsuki interrupted the other before he could mumble himself into oblivion. Was it wrong that he kind of liked seeing Deku so flustered? Before Katsuki could find an answer to that question, he felt something wet. He looked down at his lap, just in time to see a small blonde kitten hop off and away. A terrible stench invaded his nostrils, and before his brain could even process what the ever-loving fuck just happened, Izuku stood up. Kakin, remember, he's just a cat. Animals do these things, Dash, Midoriya said carefully as he slowly took a few steps back. Katsuki's brain finally registered the smell. Urine. Katsuki immediately tore his shirt off and threw the contaminated item out the window. I'm gonna fucking burn you alive, you shitty fucking cat reject. Bakugous screamed as he flung fireballs at the cat. However, Cat-chan was an agile young kitty and dodged everyone. Izuku's toe got singed before a single hair on Cat-chan's furry body could. I'm gonna just dash. Izuku jumped as another fireball almost hit his foot. I'll go get your shirt, Dash. Izuku pointed his thumbs toward the door as he backed away. He wasn't as fast or small as a kitten, so his best option was to retreat during this bake explosion. He finally made out the room in one piece. He felt bad that he was the only one who could leave, but I'm sorry, Cat-chan. You must learn that there are consequences for your actions. And with that thought in mind, Izuku headed outside to retrieve Kakin's soiled shirt. Actually, he should probably find some gloves first. He has to be hallucinating. The sight in front of him was just too weird to not be a fever dream. There stood Izuku Midoriya in sheep-printed pajamas, looking disgusted as he held up a yellow-stained shirt in gloved hands. That can't be what he thinks it is. Right in front of Bakugous' house? Did he have the wrong address? Why was there a giant crater in the lawn? Kirishima? Hey! Izuku waved happily, bringing the redhead out of his stupor. Oh, hey, Midoriya. Kirishima waved back, just a tad uncomfortable. Sorry I can't stay and chat right now. I really need to find Bakugou. Any idea where his house is? He lives around here, right? He's upstairs. Then why are you? Kirishima wasn't sure how to end that sentence. It's a long story. Anyway, what's wrong? Izuku asked, noting his classmate's anxious demeanor. HM? Oh, Dash. I came here because I wanted Bakugou's help. I guess you could help me too if you're not busy. Kirishima eyed the article of clothing in Midoriya's hand. Nope. Not busy at all. Izuku grimaced as he followed Kirishima's line of sight. What's up? He asked. I need help finding Dash. A loud rumble cut Kirishima off. Smoke drifted out from the second-story window. Oh my God, Kakin. Izuku sprinted up to the smoking room. Kirishima followed. Are you fucking insane? Izuku yelled as he burst through the door. The air was thick with smoke, making it hard to see through the haze. When the room cleared out a bit, they found Katsuki on the floor, half-conscious. Piss her as a quirk. The defeated boy mumbled. Izuku was silent for a moment as he digested the words. Then it hit him. He has a quirk. Are you serious? Cat-chan is a quirk. That's amazing. Izuku literally bounced with excitement. Oh my all might, where's my hero journal? I need to record this. Oh my God, Kakin, he even has the same quirk as you. Or maybe he absorbs other people's quirks. Where is he anyway? Cat-chan appeared out of nowhere and toddled up to Midoriya. Meow! Kirishima gasped. There you are, Junior Explosion Murder. You're the owner? Overlap with Are You Fucking Kidding Me Dash. Cat-chan/Junior Explosion Murder ignored everyone in the room and jumped into Midoriya's arms. He nuzzled against his chest affectionately. Wow! He really likes you, Midoriya. Took him a whole day to even come near me. It's not hard to like someone as stupidly kind as Deku. Bakugou grunted as he got up. When did you get Cat anyway? Few days ago. I knew I just had to have him after he burnt my face when I tried holding him. Kirishima stroked the kitten in Midoriya's arms. The kitten coughed out ashes. I didn't know Kirishima was such a masochist. Izuku thought to himself. And you had to name him after me too? You saw his quirk, bro. Ugh, whatever. Get that shit away from me already. Kirishima took the reluctant kitten from Midoriya's hands. The blonde kitten mewed sadly, but eventually accepted his fate and let himself be held by his owner. Thanks for taking care of him, Midoriya. Before I go, though, I have to ask, Kirishima said. Why are you here? Why the fuck can't he be here? Katsuki growled. Kirishima was taken aback from the blonde's sudden hostility. Then he realized Bakugous' lack of clothing and the fact that Izuku seemed to have slept over, judging from the futon and Midoriya's choice of clothes. Did they? Kirishima's face bloomed in color as he seemingly connected the dots. Sorry, man, you're right. That's none of my business. Kirishima averted his eyes and began to exit the room. Why are you always so hostile? Midoriya, scared. My mom didn't want me to stay home alone while she went to America. So that's why. See, it's not that hard to communicate properly, Kakin. Too many words, waste of air and time. Katsuki grumbled. Izuku rolled his eyes. Whoa, so you guys basically get to have a sleepover every day while she's gone. That sounds like a blast, man. Kirishima exclaimed, relieved he was wrong in his assumptions. Izuku laughed weakly and scratched the back of his head. He wouldn't exactly say that. It was fun most times, though. Hey, you guys should totally sleep over at my place this Saturday. My family's coming to visit for the holidays, and while I love them and all, they're kind of a handful to deal with. Kirishima's sweat dropped. Half of them are little kids, so I need some of my age to keep me sane. I've been meaning to ask you, Bakugou, and I wouldn't mind if you came over to Mito. The more the merrier, after all. Kirishima smiled widely. Wait a sec, holidays? You celebrate Christmas. Katsuki questioned. It was way too early to be celebrating New Year's. Yeah, I'm part Christian, but by holidays I meant Hanukkah. I'm 1/4 Jewish. That's so cool. Izuku said at the same time Katsuki spoke. I always knew you were a mutt. Kakin, Izuku scolded, punching the teen on the shoulder. Katsuki winced. The area was still healing from the demon cat scratches. Haha, it's okay. I know Bakugou loves me anyway. Ew. Oh. Kirishima snapped his fingers, as if he's figured out the secret of the universe. That's why Junior doesn't like you. He pointed at the blonde. You. Katsuki Bakugou. The redhead paused for dramatic effect. R. Both boys waited for the grand reveal. Spit it out already. A dog person. Kirishima finally finished, referring to himself as the mutt Bakugou obviously loves. He was quite proud of his deduction. Izuku gasped and clasped his hands together in joy, convinced that Kirishima hit the nail on the head. Katsuki was, however, far from impressed. What kind of harebrained logic dash? Kakin, can we adopt a puppy? God damn it, Deku. We don't have enough space and my parents will never agree, and wait, why are you asking me? I want a golden retriever. I heard they're the friendliest, although I don't mind other breeds dash. Don't ignore me, you lil dash. Can we adopt a puppy dash? Get your own damn dog. And quit believing every sentence Shitty Hair says dash. The aforementioned boy laughed at their banter. It's been fun talking to you guys, but I really should go now. It's getting late. Kirishima said as he glanced at his watch. The time was 7 p.m., but the sun had already set since it was December. But I'll see you this weekend? Kirishima asked again hopefully. Yes. No. The redhead frowned, but he expected as much. Bakugou never wants to just hang out without a purpose. Kakin, come on. Kirishima is your friend, and it'd be good to get out of the house once in a while. Izuku reasoned. I'm not going to spend a night or two at Kirishima's, surrounded by children, and Christmas/Hanukkah-related festive crap. Bakugou crossed his arms. Kakin, please see? The other pleaded, unconsciously making a puppy face. It could be fun, celebrating with a bunch of people. Izuku's always had his mother to celebrate New Year's and other holidays with, but sometimes he felt as if he was missing something or someone. With his mother away, the emptiness felt even greater as he thought about the holidays. Katsuki was ready to tell the boy off, but as soon as he looked at the other, the words got stuck in his throat. Deku's eyes were cast downwards, and his mouth formed a sad pout. He looked like a kicked puppy. The blonde face-bombed. He really couldn't take any more of this day. Fine, we'll go. Really? Izuku shot his head up. Surprised Kitten actually agreed. Sure, why the fuck not? Kirishima couldn't help but smile as he watched his friend struggle to keep an angry demeanor as the green-haired boy mumbled excitedly about how much fun they would have. He truly is a dog person. Great. Can't wait to see you guys again. Kirishima said as he walked towards the door. And thanks again for watching over Junior. I'm sure he'll love to see you again too, haha. Bye, Kirishima. Izuku waved enthusiastically. Text me the time we should arrive, okay? We'll be there the minute you say so. Or a few hours later dash. I got you, Midoriya. Kirishima shouted as he descended down the stairs. The redhead snuggled the now napping Kitten further in his coat as he stepped into the outdoors. Snow drifted softly against the redhead's exposed face as he walked home beneath the stars. Ijiro felt soft purrs vibrating against his chest. He smiled down at the precious creature in his arms and thought to himself, maybe I should get him a friend from the shelter. I wonder if they have golden retrievers. What the fuck is taking so goddamn long? Who leaves their guests out in motherfucking Todoroki-ass weather, huh? Bakugous loudly complained as he rapped his knuckles violently against the wooden material. Something about that phrase just sounds plain wrong. Please say freezing or cold next time. The angry dandelion and small broccoli had been outside of Kirishima's front doorstep for what seemed like an eternity. In reality, it was 5 minutes. Bakugous murmured curses under his breath, while Midoriya used this time to take in his surroundings. The first thing Izuku noticed was Kirishima's house. It was huge and extravagantly decorated, as were most of the houses on Golden Avenue. Of course they would name it that. Izuku thought to himself as he eyed the literal yellow brick road. The Golden Street was filled with cars most likely all owned by Kirishima's visiting family members. Kirishima sure has a lot of relatives. I wonder if they're all as wealthy as Momo? Hey, Kitten, what does Kirishima's parents do for a living? Izuku asked, suddenly curious. The question effectively halted Katsuki's colorful language for the moment, as the teen glanced up at the green-haired boy and merely nodded his head towards the driveway. Izuku turned around and was met with the sight of a large, white van that had Kirishima's car, "Oh Fun" spray painted in red across the side. The windows were tinted black, but one could see various items inside through the loose sliding doors, such as rope, spray cans, and is that a lion's tail? How Izuku didn't notice the suspicious-looking vehicle earlier was a mystery. Shitty Hair's dad, a world-renowned clown. The blonde shrugged. That's a clown car? The door finally swung open, and a woman with messy, red bun and a stained apron came into view. Bakugous-kun. Sorry to keep you waiting. The house is packed. Well, you can see that for yourself. The lady laughed boisterously. Come in, come in. The noise amplified tenfold as the two were ushered inside. Kirishima wasn't exaggerating about the amount of children that would be here. Tiny elementary schoolers ran rampant through the household. They all had balloon animals and their faces painted courtesy of Kirishima's car "Oh Fun," and left a mess just about everywhere as they tripped with foods and drinks in hands. One kid smeared paint against the walls as another went around popping balloons. The crying was indistinguishable amongst the laughter and chaos. Katsuki glared at the teen next to him. The menacing look screamed, "I fucking told you so," but Izuku ignores the silently fuming blonde. Mrs. Kirishima guides the pair through the crowded halls to her son's room. You must be Midoriya-kun, right? She asks along the way. Yes. Thank you for having me over, and sorry for the intrusion. The jumpy boy attempted to bow, but was unable to do so as he was pushed aside by a little girl and two others that chased after her. Mrs. Kirishima laughed again. Well, aren't you a gentleman? It's no problem at all. Stay as long as you like. The red-headed woman replied. The faint smile lines around her eyes and cheeks were very reminiscent of Midoriya's own mother. He smiled back. They finally made it down the hall to Kirishima's room. Kiri, dear, your other friends are here. Kirishima's mother sing-songed as she knocked. Other? Who the F else is here? The blonde questioned. The door opened, and Bakugous got his answer. It's not healthy to grind your teeth, Bakugous. My dentist told me it can cause soreness dash. Shut the fuck up. Bakugous spat out from across the room. He sat backwards on Kirishima's desk chair, while Izuku and Todoroki sat cross-legged from each other, catching up like a couple of schoolgirls on the bed. Why the hell is icy hot here anyway? Katsuki demanded from the redhead playing video games on the floor. Why can't he be here? Kirishima replied back jokingly, intending to mimic the blonde's answer from the other day. It seems to have gone over Bakugous' head as he continued his tantrum. You invited me and Deku to the shitty sleepover. You never fucking mentioned the human popsicle stick with Dash. Kakin manners. Izuku scolded. Don't start with me. You made me come here. Katsuki growled, marching towards Izuku now. He was about to grab Deku by his shirt when Todoroki shifted in front of the other. Midoriya didn't force you. You made your own choice, Bakugous. Todoroki intercepted the blonde, adding fuel to the fire. The sight of Todoroki sitting protectively in front of Deku made Katsuki's eye twitch. The fuck he think he is? Deku's knight in shining armor? The blonde thought irritably. Izuku put a hand on Todoroki's shoulder. Why is he touching the half-and-half bastard? And moved past him. He got up from the bed and stood in front of Katsuki, who didn't notice the boy in front of him as his vision filled with red. Kakin. Izuku grabbed Katsuki's arms to get his attention. I'm sorry. Damn right you should be. I shouldn't have nagged you to come, but we're here already, so try have fun. Kay? I know you and Todoroki have some issues, but, well... Midoriya paused, unsure of how Kakin would take his words. We were much worse. He continued, if you and I can become friends, then you can definitely get along with Todoroki for the weekend. Izuku finished, suddenly feeling self-conscious in the older boy's presence. We are friends now, right? Izuku wondered as he mustered a wobbly smile despite his inner turmoil. Katsuki was having an internal crisis of his own as he fought off the butterflies that the shy smile always seemed to evoke in his stomach. He ultimately failed as his face turned into a light shade of pink, which made Todoroki raise his eyebrows and Kirishima grin knowingly. The winds blew strongly that morning. The trees quivered and threatened to fall under the pressure. A storm seemed to be brewing. A young boy in a light hoodie walked out of the hospital. Even though the temperature was below freezing, he didn't seem to notice. The cold never bothered him anyway. He walked against the wind, but he wanted nothing more than to fall down in the gathering snow. Fall, 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 like the branches in the wind, like the leaves in autumn. But autumn was long gone. Todoroki, are you reciting a poem? Sorry, I'm kind of lost here. Todoroki blinked his heterochromatic eyes, seeming to come out of a trance. Oh, my apologies, I spaced out. What did you ask again? Todoroki turned to Izuku as they marched forward. How was your day? The four teenagers were currently hiking up a nearby mountain. Not the best idea when the trail was covered in 4 feet of snow, but it couldn't be helped as Bakugous always wanted to do things his way. All right, bros, what did you want to do today? Anything but be in the stuffy room any longer. Katsuki grumbled. We could go ice skating? I saw a rink nearby. Izuku suggested. Excellent idea. Todoroki spoke up. Fuck that, let's go hiking. But Dash, there's a mountain down there. Why are you wimps still sitting? Let's fucking go. The blonde yelled from out the door. My day was good, Todoroki said, but his face and early reply said otherwise. Izuku wasn't sure what to say, so he awkwardly patted his back. Thank you for the pat, Midoriya. Todoroki solemnly nodded. Anytime, pal. Izuku's sweat dropped. Bakugous sneered at the pair from a few feet ahead. Todoroki was the only one who took notice. By the way, if you don't mind me asking, Todoroki lowered his voice so that Bakugous wouldn't overhear. Are you and Bakugous? Izuku tilted his head in confusion. Todoroki cupped his gloved hand around his mouth and whispered the question in his ear. Meanwhile, Kirishima attempted to make conversation with the grouchy blonde. Man, there's nothing manlier than 4 bros trudging through a snowy mountain. Am I right, Baku bro? 3 would have sufficed. Dude, cut him some slack. I invited him, 'cause he seemed really down in the dumps this morning. Kirishima frowned. He was just moping around a grocery store near the hospital. I think he wanted to take his mother home for the holidays. Katsuki remained silent. He supposed he shouldn't be so harsh on the guy, especially during such a family-oriented month. What? No. Izuku's frantic voice made Katsuki's head turn so fast, he almost got whiplash. Deku was trembling, face covered with both hands, blushing hard judging from the tips of his ears. Todoroki was a mere centimeters away, puzzled with a hand still cupped to his mouth. Katsuki saw red again. In a blind rage, he picked up some hardened snow and flung it at the scarred face of the number 2 hero's son. Todoroki recoiled from the impact. A gloved hand came up to where the stone-hard snowball hit. Shortly afterwards, he shot snowballs of his own from his quirk. Oh, snowball fight! Kirishima shouted, either misreading the atmosphere or choosing to lighten it. He hid behind a tree and started making crudely shaped snowballs. Don't just stand there, Midoriya. You're going to get caught in the crossfire, the redhead shouted. Huh, oh. The green-haired boy gathered his wits and hid behind a large oak tree. The boys were engaged in a fierce battle until sundown. Katsuki and Izuku sat side by side on the couch in the living room. Everyone else was in the dining room, eating together. There weren't enough chairs, though, so the childhood friends were left out. A plate of chicken and mashed potatoes with gravy were left untouched on both boys' plates. How could Todoroki think we were dating? Is this what a couple looks like to him? Izuku wondered. The blonde hasn't said a word to the other since they came back. His face was turned away, resting on top of his palms in a bored manner. Izuku tried making conversation with the other, but his attempts got little to no responses. Maybe he just needs some space right now. Izuku thought as he moved to leave. Hey! A voice came from nowhere. Where are you going, mister? Izuku jumped in his seat. A moment later, he realized the voice was coming from a small child in front of him. The little pigtailed girl frowned furiously at the seated boys. Why aren't you doing the thing? She scrunched her face in distaste. Izuku was confused. Were they supposed to be doing something? Katsuki hasn't moved, but his eyes were looking at the girl too, so Izuku knew he wasn't imagining her. Izuku leaned down so that he was eye level with the kid. What do you mean, sweetie? He asked in his friendliest tone. He didn't want to displease the girl any further than he already seemed to have. The thing, you know, the moi. She pointed above them. They looked up and froze at what they saw hanging above their heads. A mistletoe. Izuku slowly looked back down at the boy next to him and found Red Eyes already staring back. His face heated up and his heart rate began beating erratically. He decided to focus on the girl instead of the unknown expression on Kakin's face. It's okay. People don't have to kiss under a mistletoe. Izuku explained. Yes, you do. It's the rule. Not for everyone. We're both boys. Izuku said back, trying to dissuade her. Katsuki was beginning to feel irritated. Boys can kiss too. I've seen my dads do it. She yelled. Well, yes, because they're in a relationship. Bakugous' lips tightened in a thin line. But if you don't, then you'll curse everyone. Everyone in this house. The little girl began crying. Izuku waved his hands in front of her, trying to calm her down. No one will be cursed. That's just a superstition, make-believe. It's okay, you're going to be fine. We're all going to be okay. However, the girl wouldn't stop crying, and Bakugous has reached his limit. Can you shut up for Christ's sake? He roared. The girl stopped crying, but she now stared wide-eyed with fear. Izuku stared wide-eyed too, not with fear, but more with worry about how far he'll go. It's been a really long day. So, I don't want to hear a word from you about curses or kisses or anything else, got it? If you do, well then curses will be the least of your worries. Katsuki smiled scarily. Kakin, she's just a little girl, probably 6 years old. Please don't. Izuku's silent wishes were in vain, though as Katsuki leaned forward to no doubt say something extremely traumatizing to the girl. Oh no. In Izuku's panic, he pulled Katsuki back by his shirt. He quickly grabbed the blonde's face with both hands. His body seemed to move on his own as he tilted his head forward and kissed Kakin's cheek. What have I done? An equally shocked face stared back at him as he internally questioned his life decisions. His fingers were still cupped around the other's smooth cheekbones. Hey, We won't be cursed anymore. The girl clapped her hands gleefully. The noise brought Izuku out of his stupor and made the reality of the situation sink in. He quickly retracted his hands from the person that made him feel like he was on fire. What have I done? His freckles seemed to disappear as his face turned into an intense shade of red. That wasn't dash. I didn't mean to dash. He gestured wildly with his hands. He couldn't believe he actually did that. I tripped. That is WHY. Okay, if that's not, we just didn't 20 frightened though I really was and thinking golf at the show Vebin still thats Noriasano had titted dime sosri kakin. The mumbling boy bowed his head forward in apology, forgetting their current proximity in his haste. Fuck! The blonde yelled, grabbing his forehead in pain. Oh my God, Kakin. Did he really have the head but his crush right now? Seriously? After forcibly kissing his cheek? What is wrong with me? I'm so sorry. Izuku reached for his face again to somehow make the pain go away, except how the heck would he even do that? He doesn't have a healing quirk, and if he did, he'd probably just make things worse with the way things were going. Hey, you guys okay in here? Kirishima poked his head out from the corridor. Todoroki peeked incuriously from behind the redhead. Katsuki was still clutching his forehead, while Izuku looked like he was going to have an aneurysm. Kirishima's cousin, Tanya, stood happily in front of his friends. She gave the redhead 2 thumbs up. We're A-okay, she shouted. After the incident, Izuku went to take a shower, mostly as an excuse to not be in the same room as Kakin. Todoroki had decided to head to the guest room. It was already past his bedtime. It was 9:02 p.m., so that left Kirishima and Bakugous in the redhead's room, where Kirishima had finally convinced the blonde to play a match of Mario Kart with him. Fine, we don't have to play. I'd obviously beat you, so it'd be boring anyway. How stupid do you think I am? Try and frickin' reverse psychology on me. Yet here he was spouting profanities as his character slowed down from being struck by a green turtle shell. His competitive nature has won out, despite recognizing his friend's dumbass plan. One could say Katsuki was the actual dumbass in this case, for believing he could win against someone with years of gaming experience. God damn it. Katsuki grumbled under his breath. Kirishima snickered. He tossed the bomb behind him as his angry friend began to catch up. Holy fuck, can you fucking not dash? Kirishima laughed at the raging boy. You need to calm down, you're being too loud. You really need to stop quoting shitty pop songs. It's a bad habit. Bakugous growled as he mashed the buttons on the controller. So, is hiding secrets from your best friend? Kirishima easily dodged a missile. How come you never told me you had a thing for Midoriya? Katsuki accidentally drove off the edge of the Rainbow Road. Where did you get that idea from? The blonde asked indifferently. Well, the fact that you haven't tried punching me yet is a dead giveaway. The redhead smirked as he took his eyes off the screen to watch his friend's reaction. The blonde merely rolled his eyes as he attempted to ward off the pink creeping up his neck. I don't know what the fuck you're on about. Me and Deku are just friends. But friends don't know the way you taste la la la. Kirishima hardened his body right as Bakugous' fist collided with his chest. See, that time I knew you'd punch me. Man, you're so easy to read sometimes. Fucking shit for brains. How did you even know about? Katsuki suddenly trailed off as he was about to say the kiss. An unfamiliar, yet frequent as of late, emotion surged through Katsuki. His insides practically exploded with butterflies as he recalled the feeling of the soft lips against his skin. He felt warm all over and suddenly found it difficult to breathe. Stupid fucking nerd. Why can't he ever think before he does shit? Tanya told me. Honestly, that was pretty manly of Midoriya. Didn't think he had it in him to try something like that. Kirishima said proudly as he won another match. He turned off the console and turned to face Katsuki completely. Whoa, do you blushing? Kirishima asked in surprise, crocodile teeth fully exposed and a shit-eating grin. Shut up, I'll kill you. Bakugous muttered half-heartedly. The empty threat was particularly ineffective with the state Katsuki was currently in. He was completely red from the neck up and seemed to be deep in thought as he stared off into the distance. Kirishima's smirk turned into a genuine smile. He's glad that Bakugous has emotions other than anger and bloodthirst. On the second day of Kirimas, Midoriya's true love gave to me. Kirishima, please stop. The flustered boy begged. To death glares in a Todoroki in a Deku tree. That doesn't even make sense. The half-white, half-red haired boy complained as they once again hiked up the mountain. This time, though, they dragged sleds with them, or Kirishima and Todoroki did, having only 2 sleds. Bakugous was ahead of them and threw glares back every once in a while. Izuku helped Todoroki with his sled. Still not yet ready to talk to the blonde, and for that, he was punished with Kirishima's relentless teasing. The redhead had apparently figured out Izuku liked their short-tempered companion after Tanya described exactly what took place yesterday. Initially, Izuku had denied Kirishima's accusations. He's never been a good liar. It doesn't need to make sense. Love is senseless after all, right, Mido bro? I'm not in love. The green-haired boy sighed as he looked up at the blonde ahead of him. It was like they went back in time. Izuku could only watch the blonde's back as he walked out of his reach. Surprisingly, it was Todoroki who spoke next. You should tell him how you feel. Izuku heated up at the idea of confessing, but immediately shook his head at the suggestion. Kakin doesn't like me like that. Why would he? But instead of saying the self-deprecating thought aloud, Izuku replied with, it's okay, I'm more than happy to just be Kakin's friend. If we're even friends anymore, don't worry about it, Midoriya. I'm sure it'll all work out. Kirishima comforted him. Izuku nodded, though he doubted it. They finally reached the peak of the mountain. They didn't quite make it to the top the day before as they got distracted, but they made it today, and it was a sight to behold. The entire town could be seen from this view. Fresh snow decorated the rooftops of every house, making even the smallest, poorest areas look nice and cozy as smoke drifted from their chimneys. The way down the hill was a little steep and had trees littered throughout, but it was nothing they couldn't manage. I call shotgun, Kirishima exclaimed, running to the front seat of the sled. Todoroki shrugged and followed the redhead. He didn't particularly care one way or the other. He could glide away on his own ice any time after all. Wait, I thought you were sitting with me to dash. Izuku was cut off by a nearby growl. He turned around and came face to face with an angry Kakin. Get in the back, Deku, Katsuki ordered as he strode past him. Izuku gulped and mentally prepared himself for the disaster awaiting ahead. I can't believe Deku would want to ride with the fuckface over me. Katsuki thought as he got in his seat. He could feel the sled shift slightly as Deku carefully got in behind him. What really angered Bakugous wasn't the fact that he wanted to ride with Todoroki of all people. No. But instead it was the fact that Deku hadn't even talked to him once today. The blonde thought he made it very clear that he forgave him for his moronic mistake. He didn't try to steal Deku's second strip of bacon at breakfast. He didn't try to blow up the bathroom when Deku took almost an hour showering. He didn't even call the other stupid or a klutz or a goddamn Melvin, even though he was a stupid fucking goddamn klutzy Melvin, although that last one had more to do with the fact that the mouse boy would squeak and speed walk in the other direction whenever Katsuki came near him. The point is, he was trying to be nice, so that Deku would realize he wasn't mad about what happened. Does he outright have to tell the nerd, hey, I actually didn't mind that you kissed me, so talk to me because I miss hearing your dumb voice, to get it through his thick fucking skull? Kakin. The hair on Katsuki's neck stiffened as he felt the hot breath whispered against his exposed skin. Bakugous intelligently replied, keeping his face forward. Should we go now? Kirishima and Todoroki are already halfway down. Katsuki clicked his tongue to feign annoyance. Well, if you're ready, the Bond grumbled. The taller boy abruptly pushed his weight against the front of the sled, moving it into motion. Gravity pulled the old sled down fast. The green-haired boy's scream got louder the further down they went. It turns out he wasn't prepared. He didn't expect to go this fast. When his fingers began slipping from their hold on the sides, he wrapped his arms around Kakin's midsection. Katsuki suddenly felt weightless. Not just because they were flying down the mountain. He could feel the smaller boy's heart beating fast against his back. Trembling arms wrapped tighter around his abdomen. And then out of nowhere a tree appeared. Screery. Katsuki managed to maneuver around the tree just in time to avoid crashing into it. However, he made the turn too quickly and flipped their sled over in the process. The boys went flying off to the side. Ugh, fuck. Katsuki groaned as he lifted his head out of the snowbank. After a moment, he realized Deku wasn't there. He looked left and right, but all he could see was an endless sheet of white. Deku? DKU. His eyes widened when he still couldn't find him. Holy shit. Katsuki began hyperventilating as he searched around, and the worst came to mind. Did he fall down further? What if he's unconscious? What if he actually did hit the tree? Where is he? Just as Bakugous was about to have a meltdown, he noticed movement in the thick layers of snow. He ran to the spot and found the freckled boy. He let out a sigh of relief. Katsuki crouched down on his knees and helped the green-haired boy sit up. He held one hand on his back for support and used the other to tilt Izuku's head up at him. Red eyes darted all over the place, inspecting for injuries. Izuku was fine, though, for the most part. Green eyes blearily opened to a hazy image of frantic Kitten. The sight made the corners of his emerald eyes crinkle as a smile crept up his lips. The fuck are you smiling about? Shit, did you hit your head? How many fingers am I holding up? Izuku let out a soft laugh, which only concerned the blonde more, and then said, Sorry, I just am dash, he giggled in between the sentences. I remembered what you said another day about green being bad luck. Guess you were right. He smiled. Okay, where's the nearest hospital? Midoriya burst out laughing like it was the funniest thing he's ever heard in his life. Truthfully, Izuku was just happy being in this moment with Kitten. He's happy that Kitten was so concerned. He's happy he could talk to Kitten again. He's only a little dizzy when he leaned his head into the blonde's neck. Katsuki's heart thumped as the smaller boy slumped against him. He glanced down and let out a sigh. He's so fucking useless. Bakugous thought fondly. He scooped Izuku into his arms and began trekking down the mountain. Katsuki had a lot of time to think during the journey downwards. The way his heart pounded with each step he took. The fact that he couldn't stop thinking about the kiss Deku gave him. Katsuki could only come to one conclusion. The conclusion he's been trying to deny ever since he got to know the sleeping boy in his arms better. He couldn't deny it anymore, not when he was currently counting the amount of freckles on his childhood friend's face. His heart stuttered as he admitted to himself, I like Deku. The boys came back to the house after the sledding debacle. The group of 4 were reduced to 2 since Izuku was still unconscious, and Todoroki left earlier than planned because of an unexpected call from his sister. The stoic boy didn't say much throughout the phone call, often just nodding his head before responding with a curt yes when he realized she couldn't see him. The 2 teens watching him assumed it was good news, though Ashoto's expressionless face lit up into a slightly less dead inside one. He gathered his clothes and other belongings shortly after their conversation ended. It's been a ride, the eccentric boy had said monotonously as he bid his farewells. An odd way to say he had fun, but at least he was trying to express himself. Communication was something they could all stand to improve upon. Sorry, could you repeat that again? Kirishima asked while petting Junior Explosion Murder. He was sitting on the left side of his bed and spoke in a low tone so as to not awaken Midoriya, who laid in the middle. Go fuck yourself on a cactus, the blonde hissed from the other side of the bed. No, I don't think that was it. Kirishima smirked. The smirk suddenly dropped. Or was it, I really couldn't hear you. But I think you asked. He pointed a finger at the blonde as he squinted his eyes and thought. How do you fret over a rush? Katsuki stared blankly at the redhead. Yeah, that doesn't make sense okay. How to let go of a tush? Kirishima's eyes widened in realization. Oh, Midoriya's TOWW. How do you get over a crush, you fucking moron? The room turned deafeningly silent. Kirishima's hands froze on the area he was hit as he digested the words. Bakugous was currently hunched over Izuku's body, fists shaking on top of the mattress, but ready to go should the redhead need another smack. The bed dipped slightly as Izuku rolled over on his side. Ka-chan, the sleeping boy murmured softly. His nose scrunched like a rabbit's as he shifted closer towards Katsuki. Bakugous steadily turned into the color of Kirishima's hair as Izuku leaned his forehead against his knee and smiled that smile that always drove Katsuki crazy. The red-faced blonde carefully shifted away from the teen as he sat back in his seat and looked anywhere except Kirishima's way. He just knew the bastard was wearing a shit-eating grin. Damn, you got it bad. Who the fuck asked you? The redhead gave him a pointed look. I don't know who else to talk to about this shit. Google was no fucking help. Well, first of all, Kirishima clapped his hands together loudly, which startled the kitten off his lap. Congratulations! You got over the hardest step admitting it. I'm proud of you, bro. Now, the second step depends on the route you want to take. Kirishima bought his fingers together the way a doctor or therapist would. I regret everything. Katsuki thinks. I'm guessing you don't want to pursue a relationship. Bakugous stayed silent. Kirishima took that as a yes. Why not? The redhead questioned. Midoriya obviously likes you back, Kirishima wanted to say, but refrained from doing so cause of the bro code. Because Bakugous groaned as he pinched the bridge of his nose in frustration. Deku's Deku. Kirishima waited for him to continue. He's Deku, Katsuki repeats. The same annoying kid who's been following me around since pre-K. He's a nerd, and a loser, and a crybaby, a dumbass who rushes and saves everyone without any regard for himself. He's way too fucking kind and understanding and forgiving for his own good. That's why everyone loves him. He's sweet and easy to talk to. He's one of the few people on Earth who'll listen to you and actually hear you in fucking hell. Katsuki abruptly cut himself off and slammed a fist down on a nearby drawer. The sound echoed through the room. The atmosphere was suddenly thick with tension as smoke steamed through the angry teen's palms. I bullied him. Katsuki's fingers clenched and unclenched in a repetitive motion. I made Deku miserable for years. How can I say I like him after that? It's fucking absurd. Katsuki chuckled cynically. What a fucking joke. Kirishima was quiet for a moment. He then tentatively says, You know he forgave you, Bakugous? He shouldn't have, the other replies sharply. Dude, you're not the same person you were then. Hell, you're not the same person you were a few months ago. You've changed for the better. Everyone in 1A's noticed. Midoriya most of all. Ijiro's eyebrows furrowed together. Don't beat yourself up over the past. Katsuki remained silent for a long time. Either way, Deku deserves more. Bakugous sighed exasperatedly. So how the fuck do I move on? Kirishima sighs as well, unsure of how he could convince Bakugous that he is worthy of Midoriya's affection. The redhead decides that his friend needs distraction from his predicament right now, and so changes the topic. Let's go bake some cookies. That'll help you get over him. Izuku's eyes fluttered open at the distant sound of children's laughter amongst the clanging of pots and pans. A ceiling fan hung low above him. The color of the ceiling itself was indiscernible as it was littered with glow-in-the-dark stars. Why am I in Kirishima's room? Izuku wondered as he sat up. The thought was soon forgotten, as a different question popped to mind. What is that smell? It smelled amazing. A sweet blend of chocolate hazelnut mixed with vanilla extract surrounded his senses. A loud, "God damn it," rang out from the corridor, followed by a chorus of high-pitched laughter. Shut up, you brats. This time Izuku giggled along with them. He sounds just like Aunt Mitsuki right now. Izuku thought to himself as he went to the kitchen. The green-haired boy stopped at the entryway, arms crossed as he simply watched his crush of 11 years. The oblivious blonde was currently scraping crisp 10 cookies off the tray and into the trash, while Kirishima's young cousins gathered around him, attempting to snatch the cookies as they fell. Don't touch those, you little SH kids. Izuku held back a bout of laughter at the blonde's subtle correction. His feet began shuffling towards his angry friend as Katsuki shooed the kids away. The blonde's hand seemed to slip slightly as he noticed the other boy approaching, tray falling almost completely in the trash. Why are you throwing them out? Midoriya questioned. They look amazing, he said as he took one of the surviving cookies. It was fresh out of the oven, so Izuku blew lightly on it before taking a bite. Amechechemum, so good. The chocolate melted on his tongue. It tasted heavenly. Katsuki's gaze settled somewhere around Izuku's shoulder as he replied, I left them in too long. They're rough around the edges. Izuku blinked. Kakin seemed awkward somehow. The tips of his ears were tinted pink, and he wasn't meeting Izuku's eyes at all. Not to mention his voice was unusually soft and hesitant. almost as if he was unsure of himself. Is he embarrassed? Of what? The cookies. Izuku bit down on his lip to prevent a squeal from escaping. Why is that so cute? Izuku instead let out a small chuckle. Ever perfectionist, I see. Katsuki merely rolled his eyes. After a moment, he asked the green-haired boy, "How's your head?" Oh. It's much better now, thanks to you. Izuku continued smiling despite the growing heat in his cheeks. The last thing he remembered was falling asleep against Kakin's shoulders. He could only assume that Kakin carried him all the way down the mountain. Bakugous shrugged and set the empty tray in the sink. "I didn't do anything," he grumbled, going toward the fridge. He took 2 eggs out and cracked them in a bowl, preparing to make a second batch. Izuku hummed, lightly rocking back and forth on the heels of his feet in a childlike manner. "Can I help?" Katsuki thought he would have a harder time talking to Deku due to the circumstances, but surprisingly, conversation flowed easily between them. He even had the 10th anniversary tapestry that wasn't for sale. "I wanted it so bad. I wanted everything in his office dash." "You're telling me that Naitai is an even bigger fanboy than you are?" Katsuki snorted as he whisked away at the lumps. "That's not possible." "Kakin, I swear. I'll introduce you one day. Then you can see for yourself." "Oh. But don't forget to have a good joke prepared before you meet him, okay?" Katsuki held back a bark of laughter at imagining Deku's all-might face. How did Naitai not laugh at that? That always managed to make Katsuki crack up in the younger days, and Deku hadn't even perfected it then. Bakugous suddenly felt the urge to see it again. "Let me see your all-might face," he said, handing the bowl to Deku. "No, I'm not making that face again. Not until it's perfect," Izuku said determinedly as he scooped the dough out onto the tray and began shaping them. Katsuki leaned against the white kitchen island, face in his palms as he attempted to convince the boy. "Come on, just do it." "No," the green-haired boy refused, carefully cutting the edges of the cookie into a tree shape. "You know you wanna," the blonde said with a temptatious lilt to his voice as he stepped closer. No, I don't," Izuku replied, too focused on the task at hand to notice the step. "Sure about that?" Katsuki asked, slowly inching closer. "Yeah. Positive." "Yup. Are you really sure?" "Yeah. Kakin." Izuku yelped in surprise. His freckled face was currently smushed in between the blonde's rough hands, cheeks pulled upwards by callous thumbs. Izuku laughed as the blonde tugged harder on his cheeks. Stop it," he gasped in between his giggles, struggling to remove the other's hold on him. "I'm just trying to help. Naitai said you were off by a few centimeters, right?" Katsuki grinned as he trapped the smaller boy in between himself and the counter. He stretched the cute face out even further. "I'm gonna make you an exact fucking replica," he whispered by his ear. "Is that a threat?" Izuku laughed, unaware of how close the blonde was. "No, of course not." The previous statement was accompanied with a menacing smile. Kirishima watched the scene from a distance, shaking his head at his pining friends. How do they not know? It's so clear, he thought inwardly as he walked away to the living room, giving the pair privacy. Show him he's worthy, Midoriya. It was finally time to leave the Kirishima household. Izuku stood beside Katsuki at the front door as he waved to Kirishima's family. "Thank you for having us. It was nice meeting you all," Izuku said, although he hadn't really met anyone. Regardless, they all shouted friendly farewells back. "Goodbye." "Nice meeting you too." "Bye. Come again soon." Kirishima's mother smiled. "See you later, brothers." Her son winked. "Bye," Kirishima's father said last, abruptly slamming the door shut, while everyone was still saying their goodbyes. Izuku froze mid-wave and sweat dropped as a muffled, "Why are you so you?" could be heard from the other side, most likely Mrs. Kirishima. "Kirishima's dad doesn't seem to like us much," Izuku said weakly to the blonde next to him. "Nah, he's always like that. It's just his personality. Reminds me of Aizawa, kinda." Katsuki said thoughtfully, "He kinda does." The green-haired boy agreed in wonder. Mr. Aizawa as a famous clown. Izuku shook the bizarre thought off. "Okay, we should get going now." He was about to begin walking when a warm hand stopped him in his tracks. Eh! Izuku's curls whipped the air as he turned to stare dubiously at the teen holding his hand. Vibrant red eyes stared back. Not yet. Katsuki said, defined features free of expression, giving Izuku no clue as to what the other was thinking. A blush belatedly made its way up Izuku's face. Kakin, what are you? Katsuki ignored the unfinished question and tugged Izuku's hand slightly, pulling him forward. The confused boy could do nothing but open and shut his mouth like a fish out of water as the blonde came closer. He leaned down and pressed his forehead against the smaller boy's. Kakesi-chan. He stammered, beyond baffled at his childhood friend's actions. Because seriously, where is this coming from? Deku. Katsuki replied gently, sending shivers down Izuku's spine as the breath mingled with his own irregular breathing. Bakugous' other hand came up to cradle Deku's trembling jawline, effectively short-circuiting Izuku's brain when he tilted his chin upwards so that their lips were lined up. Ustaf bov jabe efter kadnal kaden with kawelre what? What? Izuku could hear his heartbeat in his ears as the tips of their noses touched. Time seemed to slow down, yet speed up at the same time. Oh my god, my god. Is this actually happening? He could see every little detail in Katsuki's eyes, every variety of red and hints of brown in his irises. Izuku squeezed his eyes shut as his anxiety kicked into overdrive, nervous but excited at the prospect of what was coming next. Meanwhile, Katsuki let himself smile genuinely now that Izuku couldn't see him. He's so fucking adorable. Katsuki thought to himself, wanting nothing more than to close the gap between them. But sadly, he couldn't. Deku would react this way with anyone after all. He's an easily flustered nerd. So even if it looked like Deku wanted to kiss him just as badly, Katsuki couldn't be sure. He could be misreading the atmosphere, imagining things that weren't there. And so he settled for a quick peck on the cheek, since he could never have the real thing. Forrest's green eyes sprang open in surprise and disappointment. No, I'm seeing shit again. Fuck, I need to fix that. Katsuki pulled away and put his hands in his pockets as Izuku tried to process what had just occurred. Why? Bakugous pointed upwards, amused by the other's dumbfoundedness. Payback, bitch. Izuku followed his finger and groaned at what he saw. A mistletoe. Now we're even. Katsuki smirked. Does he know? There's no way he can know, right? I've kept it a secret this long. He couldn't have figured it out after all this time, right? Snow crunched softly under Izuku's battered red sneakers as he dazedly followed Katsuki down Golden Avenue. The blonde walked at a slow and leisurely pace. Easy to keep up with, yet Izuku fell behind anyway. He was too caught up in his own thoughts. No, he doesn't know he was just getting revenge. He said so himself. He finally concluded. The green-haired boy grimaced as he remembered the exchange from nearly half an hour ago. He was so sure that Kakin was going to kiss him on the lips. He should have known better. The only way Kakin would do that was if they were in a TV show or fanfiction or something. If he did like me, though, if it wasn't just payback, heat gathered in Izuku's cheeks as he imagined what could have happened in an alternate universe. If Kakin kissed me, he would have ran his long, rough fingers through my hair, pushed me up against the door, bite down on my lip, and... Katsuki suddenly came to a stop and looked back at Izuku, who startled and immediately averted his eyes. Well, what is it? Izuku squeaked, wrapping his arms across his chest, somehow thinking he'd feel less exposed that way. Bakugous paid no attention to Izuku's mannerisms and jerked a thumb to the side. Is that the rink you were talking about before? Mikasa Ice Arena. Izuku turned to where Katsuki was referring to and lit up at the sight. Yeah. He chirped, that's the one. Not too far away stood a huge sign that read, Welcome to Mikasa Ice Arena, where Mikasa es su casa. Underneath the sign was a long-haired man in a sombrero, handing out free samples of hot chocolate. A frozen lake surrounded by multiple booths could be seen off in the distance. Just beyond the entrance, the tiny stand sold food, ice skates, and a wide range of souvenirs. There was also a stage set up nearby for up and coming artists wishing to perform. That was probably the reason it was so crowded today. Izuku was still admiring the area as Katsuki scuffed his shoes against the icy ground, internally debating with himself. He looked back and forth from the ice rink to the twinkle in Izuku's eyes and sighed. Want to check it out? Katsuki begrudgingly asked. Can we? Izuku whipped around, grinning from ear to ear. Bakugous took a step back, 'cause the other was too close. Izuku seemed to realize himself and took a step back as well. I mean, only if you want to. Heh. Izuku scratched the back of his head sheepishly. You probably don't, though, which is okay. I don't really want to go either. Who the heck will want to go to Mikasa's? It's only number 3 on Japan's best ice skating rinks, doesn't even deserve that number. It looks lame. Ice skating is lame. Todoroki's quirk is lame. Actually, no, it's not. I don't know why I said that dash. Bakugous cut the other boy's nonsensical rambling short by grabbing his hand and pulling him towards the entrance. Izuku stumbled from abruptly being dragged along, but eventually found his footing and walked normally beside the blonde. If you want something, just say so. Katsuki murmured, somewhat peeved at Deku for not being assertive enough. I'm probably the reason for that, though. He thought guiltily, memories of his past torments resurfacing to the top. Izuku stared at the hand in his. His expression twisted into an odd mix of anxious determination as he considered the other's words. If you want something. Bakugous began to let go of the other's hand, however, couldn't. Pale fingers intertwined between tan ones, keeping them firmly in place. Izuku smiled gently at Katsuki's questioning look. His emerald eyes shined brightly with a strong, unknown emotion as he boldly declared, You're right, Kakin. Bakugous remained puzzled for a few seconds. When he finally registered the meaning behind such a statement, his face exploded in color. Did he just dash? Did Deku really just imply that? No fucking way he meant it like that. Deku's just being stupid again. Katsuki looked away and scoffed to cover up the completely unwarranted emotion he felt from such simple words. Well, you're a regular fucking Casanova, aren't you? Katsuki said sarcastically, though his throat felt tight and constricted. I am. Izuku says seriously, making the blonde do a double take. I have a harem, didn't you know? He then says, grinning cheekily. Their linked appendages swung as Izuku moved with a bounce in his steps. Katsuki stares for a while and then snorts, feeling less on edge from the stupid joke. I always knew you were secretly a hoe. He says, playing along. Always hanging out with that floaty chick and 4 eyes, looking all shady when no one's around. You guys are a bunch of nerds, though, so your idea of third base is probably finishing a year-long Lego project. You mean that's not third base? Izuku gaped, pretending to be shocked. Is first base not setting the foundation for my Lego empire? Sorry to burst your bubble, but nope. Katsuki replies. Izuku gasps dramatically. Here I thought I had already struck a home run, but I never even got to first base. My life is a lie. Don't worry, I'll show you all the bases one day. Katsuki winks. Izuku flushes from the tips of his toes to the roots of his hair. Look, we're here, the flustered boy says a bit too loudly, pulling away from the blonde to practically sprint over to the ticket stand. Katsuki bites down a laugh as the other nearly trips over his own feet in his haste. 5 minutes later, Bakugous trips over his own feet. Thwack. Kakin, it's okay if you don't know how to dash. I got this. But dash. Thwack. That makes it the 4th time that Katsuki has plunged face first onto the ice. To his credit, though, he gets up straight away to give it another shot. But of course, the cycle continues and he loses his balance again. However, Izuku was prepared this time and caught him by the arms before the blonde could further hurt himself. Katsuki's hands landed on Izuku's sleeves, just in time to prevent their heads from knocking together. Their faces were level now, Katsuki being slightly hunched over on his unsteady feet, while Izuku stood tall and strong, being the pillar that held them both up. Bakugous scowls. Deku, I don't need your help, I can do this. Just give me TI, why did you just poke my nose? 'Cause your arrogance was showing. Izuku replies promptly with puffed-out cheeks. Here, hold my hands. Again, Katsuki asks without thinking. Izuku rolls his eyes as a faint blush spots his cheek. Just do it. Surprisingly, Bakugous listens and steadily slides his hands down to hold Izuku's. Now bend your knees. Izuku instructs. Katsuki follows. Good. The green-haired boy then began to slowly skate backwards. The blonde slid along with him in the same rigid pose. "You can start walking now, Kakin," Izuku says, holding back a giggle. Gradually, Katsuki relaxes his muscles and moves his legs forward clumsily. Soon enough, though, they were in sync, and Izuku only had to hold his one hand. "Shit, this feels pretty nice, actually," Katsuki says after a while. "See? I told you ice skating is fun. When you're not falling on your face every 2 seconds, that is." What was that, Deku? Literal sparks set off in the blonde's fingertips, stinging the way many firecrackers would. "Ah!" Izuku yelped, yanking his hand away or trying to. Katsuki held on tightly. "I meant dash." "Wow. Kakin, you're doing great. Such a fast learner." Midoriya laughs uneasily through his pain. Katsuki smirks for a second, but then frowns. "The hell am I doing?" I literally just forced him to say that by hurting him. Katsuki's stomach lurched forward. "I thought I was over petty shit like this. What the fuck is wrong with me?" "Kakin," a soft voice calls out. Katsuki blinks and finds a set of worried green eyes staring at him. "What's wrong?" Izuku asks, eyebrows pinched together in concern. The emerald green eyes glisten in the evening sun as they analyze him. It was the same look that Deku always gave him as a child. The same look that could see right through him, right to his soul. Bakugous suddenly broke his hands away as they began to tremor. "Nothing," Katsuki said. He wasn't ready to open that can of worms just yet, especially not in public. He abruptly changes the subject. "I bet I can get to the other side of the lake before you can." He taunts with a forced smirk. Izuku frowned. He knew what Kakin was trying to do, but it was probably for the best to just let it go for now. "You're on." The green-haired boy accepts the challenge. "I think I have the advantage here, though, Kakin, considering you just learned how to skate." Katsuki's smirk turns a little bit more genuine. "Maybe, maybe not." "What's that supposed to mean?" Izuku blinks in confusion. "Nothing. All right, on the count of 3. Katsuki says. 1. No, wait. Izuku interrupts. "I'm counting." Why the fuck does it matter who's counting? "'Cause," he says, crossing his arms, "I feel like you can say 3 when I least expect it and get a head start on me." The freckled boy explained himself. "The fuck?" Katsuki scoffs. "I wouldn't pull a chicken chip move like that, but whatever. Go ahead and count since you want to so badly." "Thank you," Izuku says, stepping in line with the blonde. "All right, ready?" Katsuki nods. "Okay, 1. Midoriya leans forward and puts a hand on his knee. 2. Bakugous cracks his knuckles for some reason. 3. Izuku shouts, surging into motion. Katsuki stayed still for a moment, before setting off an explosion behind him. "Kakin!" Izuku shouts as Katsuki propels past him. "You can't use your quirk, that's cheating." "Says who?" Katsuki laughs maniacally as he left a blazing trail of melted ice behind him. The rink was definitely going to find them. At least they won't be charged with a public safety hazard fine, since most civilians were off the ice by now. Well, since they were going to be fine anyway. Izuku activated his own quirk and caught up the fire wielder in a matter of seconds, except his alignment was off and he ran right into the other's back. The pair collided painfully and spun off into a snowbank. Ugh. Izuku groaned as he saw stars for the umpteenth time that week. Snow surrounded him. It was in his ears, his shoes, his gloves, everywhere. And he couldn't even move since he was trapped underneath Katsuki. The aforementioned slowly lifted his head up and shook the excess snow off his hair. Izuku's breath hitched at the sight. The sun overhead cast a sort of halo effect around Katsuki, illuminating his golden locks. The tips of his hair were peppered with snow, giving the spikes a softer appearance and contrasting sharply with ruby red eyes. A strange warmth flooded Izuku's senses as the blonde suddenly smiled. Truly smiled. "Deku, you goddamn klutz," Katsuki said in an almost affectionate tone. He let out a tiny exhale to laugh as he spoke. "You had an entire rink to yourself, yet you still managed to run right into me. How is that even possible?" Izuku shrugged, not really knowing how to respond. "I always do the impossible." he says flippantly. This time Katsuki really laughs, a smooth velvety sound that makes Izuku's stomach do somersaults. Fuck yeah, you do, he says, definitely in an affectionate tone. Izuku's palms started sweating profusely as his heart raced fast and loud. Thump, 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 t-ump, 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 t-ump. Thump. Katsuki was suddenly sitting on the ice. Confusion etched over his features while Izuku was on his feet. What just happened? Midoriya wondered. He looked down at his hands. They were shaking uncontrollably. Did I just push Kakin? When? He couldn't remember at all. His body must have moved on its own accord. Sorry. Izuku stammers, searching for words inside his head. It was cold. I didn't mean to push you. He murmurs as scratches the back of his head, distracted by the fluttering sensation in his stomach that grew stronger by the second. The green-haired boys swiftly turn away to walk to the booths. I think that's enough skating for one day, he murmurs to the blonde as he leaves. As soon as he was out of Katsuki's sight, he brought one hand up to his chest and squeezed the fabric that was directly over his heart. He leaned his other hand against a nearby lamppost and breathed into his nose and out his mouth, as if he had just ran a marathon. Thump, 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 thump. What is wrong with me? His stomach was still churning, and his heart couldn't seem to calm down. Kakin's smile suddenly flashed through his mind. Then the kiss from Kirishima's house, the apprehension in the air from when they held hands, the oddly flirty jokes Kakin would say from time to time, the way Kakin would flush occasionally without a reason. There's no way. Izuku shook his head in denial. There's no way he feels the same. He does not like me that way he can't. There's no way he would. I'm overthinking things, like I always do. It's just not possible, it's just not. Right? Katsuki Bakugous is stumped. One moment, Deku was all happy-go-lucky, and the next he looked freaking terrified. And Bakugous had no idea. Why? Was it something I did? Was it 'cause I cheated? No, he wouldn't be scared by that. The blonde racked his brain for anything he might have done wrong in the past hour. Wait, he sat upright as a thought came to mind. Was it 'cause I smiled? Alarm bells rang in his head as he remembered how the corners of his lips had automatically turned upwards at seeing Izuku surrounded by snow, wide-eyed with dewy, pink cheeks. Fuck, was it that fucking creepy? He wondered anxiously, peering at his reflection from a glass window and trying to replicate the smile he had made then. A little boy watching from inside saw Bakugous' attempts and briefly broke out in a sob. Katsuki quickly turned away when the child's mother began to frantically search about for the cause of his dismay. God damn it, Bakugous thought. It's a sin to frighten children, you know. A feminine voice called out from above. Bakugous looked up and sneered at the girl talking to him. Yeah? Well, you know what they say when you assume shit. Makes an ass out of you and me, or whatever, so how about you mind your own damn business? He snarled. Ugh, what vulgar language. The girl cried out. She looked really familiar now that Bakugous took a good look. She had fair skin and vines for hair, a feature one would normally notice right away. But Bakugous couldn't place where he'd seen her before. You should go to church, sir. I hear there's one not too far up the road, she said, taking a seat next to him. She dug through her purse and pulled out a pamphlet. Here, have this. Katsuki glanced over the laminated cover. The image of Jesus being hung on the cross was exaggerated and quite visceral, to be frank. Captioned above his spilled guts were the words "Die the right way" in off-putting bright bubble letters. Katsuki Bakugous has left the bench. He does not like me that way he can't. There's no way he would. I'm overthinking things, like I always do. It's just not possible, it's just not. Right? Wrong. Eep. Izuku jumped a foot in the air and slipped backwards as he came back down. Oh shit, sorry Midoriya. I didn't mean to scare you. My bad. Denki apologized before lending a hand to the other. Kaminari! Midoriya exclaimed in surprise. He graciously accepted the help. What are you doing here? I didn't expect to see you, not that I'm unhappy about it, or anything dash. The extra sentence felt necessary to add after a lifetime of misunderstandings with another certain blonde. Kaminari grinned and gestured behind him. The green-haired boy tilted his head and saw a green-haired girl in the distance, sitting on a bench. She looked awfully lost. Ah! Recognition flickered across his features. That's the girl from the sports festival. What was her name again? She's a Shizo? Ibra Shiozaki. She's my date. Kaminari proudly announced. Really? That's great, Kaminari. Izuku clapped as if the electric boy had just won a medal. He's genuinely happy for him. Kaminari has wanted a girlfriend for forever, and after many, many rejections, he finally got a date. Kanashami. Ibra suddenly shouted. Are you sure we're at the right place? Yes, my dear, I'm positive. Don't worry your pretty little head about it. My phone says St. Chapel's is another 20 miles in the other direction. Are you actually a tour guide? Jay, just a minute. Denki shouted back, I'm talking to a friend, and the name's Kaminari. Before Midoriya could further pity him, Kaminari swiftly steered the conversation away from himself. So anyway, enough about me. Who were you mumbling about just a moment ago? He asked, wiggling his eyebrows suggestively. Izuku stared blankly, seemingly confused. Kaminari sensed this and jogged his memory. You know, when you were saying stuff like, they'll never like me back, it's impossible, something like that. Izuku's eyes grew wide in realization. Oh, I didn't know I was talking aloud. That's so embarrassing. What if I stayed back with Kitten and began rambling like that? That'd be the absolute worst way to confess dash. Be Bakugous? Kaminari yells, choking on his own spit. It's Bakugous. Izuku slapped a hand over his mouth. I did it again. Who the fuck is shouting my name? Kitten. Kaminari's eyes widened with alarm as Izuku slapped another hand over his mouth, muffling a high-pitched scream. Spiky, blonde hair soon came into view over the slope road and caused Izuku to flush considerably because, one, the sound of Kitten's laughter was still fresh in his mind, as was a toothy smile he sent his way, the dimple that appeared with it, the feeling of Kitten's hands his own, his lips on his cheek. Erg. Stop it. Stop it. It was all platonic. He does not like me like that. Stop being delusional. Hey, Bakugous. Denki says, turning around. Oh, and two Kaminari knows. What if he tells Kitten? Pikachu? Ah. I should have known that dying donkey bray of my name could have only come from you. Bakugous said, coming closer. Okay, rude dash. Deku? Hey, what's wrong? Katsuki asked, completely ignoring Kaminari as he noticed his childhood friend crouched on the ground. Why do you look like you're going to throw up? Izuku responded by squeezing his palms tighter against his mouth. He didn't trust himself to not say anything stupid, given what's happened beforehand. It didn't help that Katsuki leaned down to his level and put a hand on his shoulder, staring right at him. Kaminari watched the scene with bewilderment. This was the first time he saw Bakugous care about someone else, and for that person to be Midoriya, of all people, it was unexpected to say the least. Geez, I guess a lot changed over break, he thought as he observed his classmates' interactions. Midoriya seemed to be very interested by his shoes right now. He was the same color as him, while Bakugous' sole attention was focused on the smaller boy in front of him. His eyes scanned all over the other's face for clues on what ailed him, and again Bakugous, just showing concern. That by itself is bizarre. But there's another emotion lurking behind those red eyes that went beyond mere concern. Kaminari sighed and put his thoughts to the side for now. He needed to get some space between them before Midoriya overheated. Bakugous? Kaminari began. I wouldn't stand too close to him if I were you, man. Midoriya was just telling me he wasn't feeling too well. He probably caught corona or, cold. He probably caught a cold. Izuku perked up at the statement and nodded vigorously, puffing his cheeks out like he was about to hurl for added effects. Bakugous' demeanor did an immediate U-turn. Oh my God, is that why you were acting weird earlier? If you didn't feel good, you should have just said so. Fuck, you always keep things to yourself. He grumbled angrily. Hey, don't be so hard on him, Bakugous. He's sick. You should be treating him to a nice, hot meal, not yelling at him. Denki admonished. Then he remembered. In fact, the shop over there sells amazing ramen. You should buy some for Midoriya. Katsuki glared at the dainty ramen shop by the booths before glancing at Izuku, who looked like he'd pass out any minute. He turned his attention back to Denki and huffed. Fine. Better not be shit ramen. Ha ha ha. Oh, I can assure you it's not. The quality is just exquisite. Trust me, the subtle nuances of food are my area of expert. He's leaving. Izuku giggled quietly at Kaminari's crestfallen face. Afterwards, he says, "Thank you, Kaminari. I don't know why, but I was worried you would tell Kakin about, well, you know." He scratched the back of his head sheepishly. "I'm sorry. I freaked out over nothing." "What? Dude, no way I'd do that. Not to you anyway. If it was someone like Zero or Kirishima, then yeah, I'd tell the whole class who they liked." Denki grinned mischievously at the thought of exposing his friends in such a way. Izuku smiled uneasily. "But don't worry, Midoriya. Your secret's safe with me," Kaminari promised. His face then took on a serious expression. "You should definitely ask Bakugous how he feels, though. I don't think it's impossible that he likes you back." Izuku opened his mouth, undoubtedly about to deny it, so Kaminari spoke again. "After all, it's better to know than to always wonder what if, right? Achoo." It turns out Izuku actually did catch a cold. Ugh. He groaned as his head fell back against the couch's armrest. Even sneezing took a lot out of him. He pulled the covers tighter around himself, shaking from the cold yet sweating at the same time. "Izuku-kun, what are you doing on the couch?" Mitsuki asked as she descended down the stairs, buttoning her blazer. The green-haired boy raised his head and mustered a weak smile. I caught a cold, Ani. I didn't want Kakin to get sick, too, so I slept here last night." Mitsuki snorted. "Ha! That's very thoughtful of you, but let me tell you, that brat Dash," she paused to put on her coat, "doesn't get sick. Ever. I don't know why. Everyone gets sick sometimes, but not him apparently. Why does she say that like it's a bad thing?" Izuku's sweat dropped. "The fuck? You want me to catch the flu or something?" Bakugous scowled from the upper floor. He probably just woke up, judging from the bedhead and lazy posture. "Some mother you are." He scoffed. "Well, it wouldn't have hurt to catch a break once in a while when you were a little demon spawn. You were always running around causing some kind of trouble. In fact, you still are. When the hell will you grow up?" She berated him. "Shut up. It's too fucking early for lectures. Go to work already." "It's never too early for lectures. But I am running late, so you're spare for now," Mitsuki said as she put on her heels. "Take care of Izuku, Katsuki. There's lentil soup in the fridge and Tylenol in the cabinets. If you need to pick up more medicine, there's money in my drawer. Search the one on the left, okay? Shit, I gotta go. Bye, boys." "Bye, Ani." Later, Hag. The door closed shut with an ominous click, leaving a thick tension behind as the two teenagers were left alone. Izuku's eyes flitted from Katsuki's form, making his way down the steps and gulped, feeling nervous for no reason in particular. It's not impossible he likes you back. Kaminari's words rang through his head. "Oi, get up, Deku," Bakugous commanded as he stood in front of him. "The couch is uncomfy as hell. You can rest in my bed for the day." Izuku was slightly taken aback by the offer. Kakin never let people use his stuff if he could help it. "TH thanks Kakin, but it's okay. I don't want to spread any germs in your room, Dash. Didn't you hear the Hag? My immune system's a fort. If anything, your germs will die in my room. Even so, I don't want to risk it." "You doubt me?" "No, I'm just comfortable where I am is all." "Yeah, right, come on." "Really? It's okay. The springs aren't even that out of place heap." Izuku yelped as the blonde suddenly picked him up and carried him bridal style toward the stairs. His entire body flushed as Kakin gripped his bare thighs, having worn shorts to sleep. Kakin, put me down," Izuku stammered, pushing a hand against his chin and kicking his knees into his abdomen, both of which were ineffective with how weak he felt physically and mentally. "I will. When we're in my room, quit struggling already." Bakugous tightened his hold so that Izuku wouldn't cause them both to fall off the staircase. Izuku flinched as Katsuki brushed against a bundle of nerves on his inner thigh. His leg shot up violently, and he quickly bared his bright red face into the other's neck out of reflex, ears burning with embarrassment as he held in a strangled whimper. Bakugous looked down at the twitching boy in confusement. Confusement soon diverted into realization, however, and his lips slowly spread out into a sly grin. Damn, someone's a bit sensitive, huh? Katsuki said teasingly as he pinched the pale skin. MPHM. Izuku buried himself deeper into his neck, and one hand came up to cover his mouth as the other clenched a fistful of Katsuki's shirt. Something in the blonde's stomach stirred as he felt the curved nose dig into his collarbone, and he wondered, what other noises could he coax out of the teen? And no. He was not going down that train of thoughts. Nope. Katsuki willed his blush to go down as he kicked open the door and unceremoniously tossed Izuku onto his bed. Ow! Can you be a bit more gentle next time? Izuku complained as his head bumped the bedpost. Katsuki ignored the unintentional innuendo and rummaged through his drawers for a thermometer. He finally found one and stuck in the other's half-open mouth, who didn't appreciate the sudden nature of the action, but complied nonetheless. A minute later, the thermometer was pulled out and read 101 degrees. Not too bad, Katsuki stated. Get some more rest while I make a fresh batch of soup. Who knows how long the hag's just been sitting in the fridge. Izuku immediately sat up, a polite response already tumbling out. Ah, Kakin, you really don't have to dash. Don't test me, nerd. He warned from the doorway. How am I dash? The door slammed shut, leaving Izuku by himself. He sighed exasperatedly. He was too tired to make sense of Kakin's logic. He laid down on a mattress and was instantly relaxed by the softness of it. It was amazing after almost 2 weeks of sleeping on the floor. It's like I'm on a cloud, he thought as he snuggled into the fluffy pillow. Kakin's scent lingered on the pillow, and Izuku took a deep breath. Kakin's so nice sometimes, he thought with a yawn. I can't remember the last time someone took care of me when I was sick. Actually, I can't remember the last time I was sick. Darkness filled Izuku's vision. His breathing slowed down into steady puffs of air until he was fast asleep. It was hot, extremely hot. He blearily blinked open his eyes and saw a familiar ceiling. How can a plain white ceiling be familiar? Izuku doesn't know, but he's sure that this is his room despite having complete lack of All Might merchandise. In fact, his bedroom was oddly empty, the only decoration being a plastic model of a rocket and a moon dangling over him. The cheap decor shook as loud footsteps stomped about. Shadows of vague figures moved in the dim hallway light. Honey, wait, the smaller figure shouted. He has a fever. He didn't mean to dash. I don't give a damn. A boy his age should know better than to barf over the carpet. That voice, that was his mother screaming. Dread pooled in Izuku's stomach. Who was the other voice she was yelling at? He's only 3. He wouldn't know that HH. Inko's scream tore through the air as she was backhanded. He's already 3. It's about time he learns manners. The furious voice roared. The hallway light suddenly went out, and the room was pitch black. Out of nowhere, fingers latched around Izuku's neck. His sashi don't. It was too late. Izuku jolted awake, panting and out of breath. His heart hammered, and he was drenched in sweat. He could still feel invisible hands around his neck. Midoriya knew it was a dream, but it felt so realistic. Did that really happen? Bakugous came in with a bowl of soup. It's still hot, so don't dash. He stopped mid-sentence when he saw Izuku, grasping his neck with tears streaming down his cheeks. He placed the bowl down on a desk and rushed to his side. Deku, hey, look at me. What happened? Why were you crying? He asked, tilting his chin up and wiping his tears. It was a pointless endeavor, though, as they just kept on pouring out. Izuku finally looked up at Katsuki, wide-eyed with fear as if he's just seen a ghost. The blonde could literally feel his heart breaking into pieces as he faintly whispered, Keken my dad, Ichak dash. More tears spilled out and the freckled teen couldn't stop the ugly sob that erupted from his throat. Strong arms soon wrapped around him and enveloped him into a hug. It was just a dream, Deku. He's working abroad, remember? You're fine, he's fine. Everything's okay. Katsuki spoke gently as he rubbed the other's back comfortingly. The soothing circle seemed to have calmed him down a bit as his tears slowed down ever so slightly. Right? Izuku sniffled and nodded shakily. Mom always told me stories about what a loving father he was. That couldn't have been real, he thought to himself. Gingerly, he hugged Katsuki back, and they stayed like that for a while. Izuku gradually inhaled and exhaled, trying to gain control of his breathing, while Kakin gave gentle, reassuring pats, unconsciously tightening their embrace. After the green-haired boy had calmed down completely, he grew slightly flustered from the close proximity. "Kakin?" he murmured into his shoulder. His heart sped up again as he felt the hum vibrate in his ear. He gulped, suddenly feeling the urge to tell Kakin just how grateful he was, how much he meant to him, how he's always meant the world to him. He wanted to tell him everything. He wanted to tell him, "I love you," but the words got stuck in his throat. "Thank you," he said instead. "No problem."